So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the official OUHSD board meeting of April 29th, 2020. We're going to begin. Dr. McCoy has agreed to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I have something special for those of us not in the boardroom. I have my Hillary Clinton flag from when she was at Miami High School. So I always have it, so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. McCoy, would you be so kind as to lead us?
Yeah, everybody would stand up and put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving to the adoption of the agenda. And I know that trustees, there were four items that trustees requested to pull from the consent calendar. So it's item C, item B as in boy, item SS as in Sam, and item UU. And if there are any others, are there any other trustees who would like to comment on the agenda?
I have a request, Trustee Chair.
Yes.
If it would be okay, could we move the grading resolution to the front of the meeting, because we do have a teacher who has requested to speak during public comment on that item, and we don't want them to wait till like 10 o'clock at night because it's at the end.
Sure. So where would you like to move that?
So if we could possibly move that up to, if it'd be possible, either the first item on action or right before we do consent, or like right after my report, one of those places.
I'm going to leave it up to you. Tell me where you would like to have it, where you think it would be best served.
Would you mind if we moved it up to after the student board report?
Sure. If Dr. Hall, would you?
I would just recommend we put it at 11B, just right in the action items, so that it.
Oh, yeah.
Action items.
Okay.
Look, hold on. Ah, there it is. Okay, so right after that. Okay, perfect.
So action item 11B.
Yeah, or just move it after 11A. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are there any others?
I move to approve with.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Herrera. Could you move the microphone closer?
She just has to talk into her computer.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but barely. I don't want to miss you.
I unmuted me.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
There
that's much better. Yes. Hi.
There. Hello.
Okay.
Thank you.
You don't even need the regular mic. I don't think you need the
No mic.
No mic.
Got it. Oh, don't use the table mic.
You don't need to.
Okay, so we have a first from Trustee Herrera. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, pulling consent item C, BB, SS, UU, and moving the gradum to action item 11B. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say no. Okay, then the agenda has been adopted. And so now I think before we move, there is one thing. I think, Dr. McCoy, if you could put up the notice of the teleconference options for the meeting, just so everybody is aware. On March 12th, Governor Newsom issued an executive order N2520 in regard to COVID-19 virus, which included provisions relating to the Brown Act in regard to local legislative bodies, such as school boards, holding meetings via teleconference. One of the stated reasons for issuing this executive order was to, quote, further efforts to control the spread of the virus and to reduce, then minimize the risk of infection, unquote. Notice is hereby given that the Oxnard Union High School District Board of Education regular meeting scheduled for April 29th will be a teleconference meeting where the members of the OUHSD Board of Education will be attending the meeting via teleconference or video conference. So just to make a note of Trustee Herrera and Dr. Davis, as well as Trustee Edmonds, are all at the boardroom, or in the boardroom rather, and Dr. Hall and I are attending remotely, as well as the superintendent as well and executive cabinet.
Yes.
This notice was posted on April 24th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. So just so everyone has lots of time if they want to make comments, it also did state that members of the public will continue to have the right to observe and offer public comment at the meeting, consistent with the public's right of access and public comment otherwise provided for by the Bagley-Keene Act and the Brown Act at the physical location as agendized. And that would be the boardroom at 6:15 p.m. Per executive order of the Governor of California, public meetings are limited to no more than 10 people. Community members who wish to attend the board meeting in person will only be admitted up to a 10-person limit, including staff and trustees who choose to be in physical attendance. You may give public comment remotely by emailing the superintendent at penelope.deleon@oxnardunion.org. And an audio recording of the meeting will be available for 30 days following the meeting by contacting our district office. We also want to make note of the fact that translated transcripts will be available and posted on our website as soon as possible. We want to make sure everyone has the information as soon as possible. So then moving forward, we are going to adopt the agenda. So we have, approval of the minutes. Sorry, my next item.
I will move approval of the minutes of special board meeting of 3/18, regular board meeting of 3/25, and special board meeting of 4/9/20.
Second?
Thank you. We have a first and a second. All those in favor of approval of the minutes for the 3 meetings mentioned, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, so the minutes have been approved. And we're moving on to public comment on closed session items. Those persons wishing to address the board may do so at this time by emailing the superintendent or filling out a speaker card if you are in the room. Is there anyone in the room?
No, just a tech person. Just a tech.
Okay.
I have not received any requests for public comment.
Okay.
Not
So-
on closed session.
Not on closed session?
No.
Okay, then without further ado, yes, we're moving on to closed session. Are all the trustees in agreement? I can only see, just so you know, I can only see, well, now I can see Trustee Herrera, but I can see Dr. De Leon and Trustee Davis, but I can't always see Dr. Hall and
They come up, yeah.
Trustee Edmonds.
Can you do your gallery view?
Gallery view.
When we're in closed session, I'm going to try to do that.
And also, Trustee Herrera, I wanted to let you know that your face is cut off right at your nose. So you'll need to move your screen down.
I think, yeah, we'll fix that when we come back.
Okay.
Okay.
So just so everybody is aware, if I don't acknowledge you, it's because I can't see you. So just speak up. So, just interrupt me if you need to, if I don't stop.
Also, I can make you aware that at the top of your screen on the left, there is a person waving their hand. You can hit that button and that will allow Trustee Scher to see you. It'll say Trustee Herrera raised her hand, and it'll show that little person, and then Trustee Scher, then you know that she did and you can call on her. Super simple.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you. So then we're moving on to closed session.
All right. And so everybody will need to open the link for closed session at this point. Nobody else will be able to be on that link.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
I'm not sure I know how to do that.
You just go to the next, the email.
And if you want to close out the session, or at least you could just say like leave meeting. So
Okay,
you could actually
Go-
just close that.
Close
one.
that there?
Yeah, just close that one. There you go. So you're
Now-
there. And then you just want to go back onto the closed session link right up there. Will you be Go ahead and click on
Out
that.
of the room, do you think, or, well, we have closed session, are we gonna take our computers to the other room?
No, you guys could stay in here because nobody's set up anything in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead and click on that join now option right there. And then, so you're gonna join the closed session and, over here. You're gonna go ahead and just close out the.
All right.
Hello. You know, I already messed up because I forgot to list all the things we're going to talk about in closed session.
You can always open your link back up for open and say it for the public. Go in and open your open session link again.
I'm going to do that really quick then.
Yeah, why don't you go do that for Brown Act? We'll wait for you. Hi, everybody. Welcome, Joe. Welcome, Trudy, to closed.
Hello, hello.
Hi there. I hope you saw the closed session documents. Good, thank you.
So for Dr. DeLeon, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, so now I think I'm in two meetings. I'm gonna leave one and
Yes, that's fine. I would just yeah, there you go. Hi, Steve. There you are.
Can you guys see your own pictures on there, or you just see everyone else's picture?
Everybody else. And we're up at the top corner.
Oh, no. Okay, there it is. Okay. I
Check.
just like to stare at myself during the meetings.
okay, so Penny, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So I am on the open session board meeting link and I can hear you.
That's because you're talking into the same computer. So we won't say anything for closed until we close out all the open. Go ahead and do your thing, Trustee Sharon, then we'll close out open.
I want to make sure I'm in the right meeting.
Okay, President Scher, go ahead.
Yes.
And go ahead and read the closed session items.
Thank you. Apologies. So during this time, the board may adjourn to closed session to discuss confidential material relating to the following items: public employee discipline, dismissal, release, resignation, appointment, reassignment, or employment, conference with labor negotiators, student personnel, consideration of confidential student issues other than expulsion and suspension, and conference with legal counsel, and conference with real property negotiator. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Tom, can you just make sure that everybody's out of open right now?
Yes.
So I'm going to leave. Yeah, I'm going to leave now.
Yeah.
But that all the people who were in it are out because they'll hear us.
Yeah, everybody's out.
Okay, perfect.
As long as no one is logged into both meetings who's in closed session, then we should be okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and hit the X there. You're gonna want to click join again. Oh yeah, go ahead and hit the X right there.
Louise from Oxnard High School for Feast for Giants, first place. Digital Media, Jennifer Abundiz, Channel Islands High School, Art with a Heart, first place. Painting, Vivica Ciron, Channel Islands High School for The Flares. In drawing, Davis Jackson from Condor High School, Doodle Madness. In 3D art, Stephanie Carranza from Channel Islands High School for Neko. And mixed media, Alan Guillen from Channel Islands High School for The One. And the People's Choice, Siana Magana from Oxnard High School for Never Surrender and Photography. We'd also like to thank our district art teachers, Carolina Alcala, Virgil Cardenas, Brittany Zacks, Shiyoung Kim, Abigail Santana, Bethany Harris, Krista Wolf, Shelly Conley, Tylisha Gatlin, and Maria Genovese for making sure these art projects made it to the museum. So thank you and congratulations to the District Art Show winner.
I just have to say we have such outstanding staff to do that, to take that extra step to make sure it happened during the closure. And also to the Channel Islands Maritime Museum. They are an outstanding partner. Love those guys. And when we're done being closed, anybody who gets a chance, you need to go over there and check out their museum. They're amazing.
So, President, Chair, and trustees, our next recognition is going to be followed by a staff report on the Farm to School program. We want to recognize the following students and staff for contributions, outstanding contributions to Farm to School. From Camarillo High School, the Naturally Green Club, teacher Tani Safran, Maria Clevenger, and Pranesh B. are the students being recognized. Channel Islands High School for Channel Islands High School for leadership in the school garden. Teacher Heather Malloy, students Luis Pacheco, Fernando Gonzalez, and Isaac Galaviz. Frontier High School for outstanding leadership in the school garden under teacher Gerald Senegal, Gilbert Ramos, Kimberly Garibay, Rochelle Vivianco, Esmeralda Diaz Flores, Melissa Mejia, and Ivan Baron. At Wainimi High School for the Harvest of the Month campaign and the Wellness Committee work, teacher Holiday Buen and student Ariana Torres. At Oxnard High School for outstanding leadership in the school garden, teacher Deborah Gallagher, students Paula Perez and Jaylee Casares, excuse me. At Pacifica High School for outstanding school garden leadership, teacher Brian Brister, student Diego Martinez, and the Farm to Table staff cooking night under teacher Kristen Collins with Ikawai Bachmeyer, Miguel Hernandez, Besania Ramirez, Cassandra Vasquez, Daniel Sanchez, Aume Ruiz, Marco Rivera, Eric Bustamante, Emmanuel Medina, and Stephanie Velasquez, all from Pacifica High School. Oxnard Middle College for Farm to School cooking classes, teacher Dr. Kim Stevenson, and students Griselda Casares, Brittany Chavez, Carla Gomez, and Jacobo Ramirez. Rancho Campana High School, the Incredible Garden Club members who organize weekly lessons with Anna Litz, teacher Allison Halstead, Alex Massey, Ethan Ernst, Megan Johnson, Alexis Chavez, Kim Luga, and Layla Seaman. And at Rio Mesa High School for the Zen Garden mural, teachers Shiyoung Kim and Sandra Chiprut, students Gemma Barroso, Angelique Ibarra, Estrella Olguin, and Dean Moody. And the Zen Garden as an IB Club project last year with Oxnard Fire Department, students Chris Powell, Jocelyn Martinez, Sam Hoyt, and Angela Aromine. And you're going to hear more about all these fabulous students in this fabulous program in just a minute.
Woo!
Congratulations, everybody.
Oops. Okay. Okay, Marianne, if you want to go ahead and take over the presentation. Is it all right if we proceed into the staff report, President Chair?
Yes, please do.
Good evening, great Board of Trustees and Superintendent De Leon. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for our wonderful nutrition services. Our farm to school team will be presenting a very quick 10 minutes, but such a rich program that we really have benefited greatly from it. And I'm going to pull it up right now. And okay, Ms. Jackson, whenever you're ready, please begin.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. De Leon and Board of Trustees. Thank you for inviting us tonight to present about our program. The OUHSD.
Hello.
Hello. The OUHSD Farm to School program began in 2016 after students requested the board make widespread changes to the school meal program, specifically including more locally grown fruits and vegetables, meals made from scratch. The Farm to School program's first value is student voice. We developed the program priorities based on feedback from students about what they want the program to include: nutrition, school gardens, locally grown food, and student leadership development. Through public and private grants and donations, the program has established 11 school gardens, provided nutrition education to over 10,000 students, provided garden education to over 10,500 students, harvested over 1,500 pounds of food, which is used for nutrition education, student activities such as health fairs, the culinary programs, cafeteria meals, and currently, while we're on quarantine, the harvests are going to the families who come pick up lunches at school once a week. Our program goals are first to ensure that all students have access to a school garden and facilitate the use of gardens as living labs, a resource that inspires students to think critically, connect with nature, problem solve, and engage in hands-on project-based learning. Our second goal is to deliver nutrition education to as many students as often as possible so that they can graduate with both cooking skills and practical knowledge about the lifelong connection between nutrition and health. Our third goal is to establish a positive connection to local agriculture by bringing locally grown food to the cafeterias and bringing students on field trips to farms to learn about careers in agriculture. And finally, our last goal is that every student voice is a primary component of our program activities, and we provide opportunities for student leadership development. Our team consists of myself, the program coordinator, Ali Villegas, our nutrition educator, and Anna Litz, our garden manager. However, we work very closely with teachers and staff throughout the entire district to carry out our program goals. And our success is largely due to establishing strong supportive relationships with our district faculty and staff. Additional accomplishments include the farm field trips, where over 500 students have learned about soil science, hydroponics, ag research and marketing, and much more. Local food procurement for the cafeteria. The nutrition services currently purchases food directly from three Ventura County farms. Community engagement. We connect with other Ventura County school districts and public health agencies to ensure that available resources for our students are well utilized. And staff wellness. So this year we began working with the SIBO Healthcare Committee to launch the Teacher CSA program, which is providing hundreds of home deliveries of fruits and vegetables to OUHSD staff during the COVID-19 quarantine. And now I would like to introduce Ali Villegas to discuss the nutrition education program.
Hello, thank you, Anna. Okay, so as she said, over the past 2 years, over 10,000 students have benefited from the in-person nutrition education we've been providing. I say benefited because we know that multiple benefits exist with proper nutrition. These same benefits address the needs reported to us by the students while supporting the goals within our district. With anxiety and depression among their highest concerns, students are searching for areas that they can control. When I tell them what they should eat to prevent heart disease, they tune me out. It's too far away for them to care. They want to know how they can get better grades, perform better as athletes, and wake up feeling good about themselves. They want to be confident and equipped to take on the day, which is what we all want, isn't it? By coaching our students how to achieve the right amount of sleep, proper amounts of water, and food that not only fills them up, but provides them so that they can also thrive, we all win. Promoting healthy eating increases opportunities for success. What that means for you is peace of mind. And the real value is knowing that farm to school programming is aligned with our school district's goals. One story that has come out of our work took place at CI Adult Transition. Earlier last year, we had held a cooking lesson making salads using only ingredients that they had harvested out of their garden. Upon returning to their class this year, they had continued having those same lessons without me there. And I was also greeted by a student who I couldn't quite recognize. I was informed from their teacher that he had not only lost a bunch of weight, but also had been insisting on having veggies at every single meal at home.
Woo!
I know. His father even told Mr. Yucker that he had to buy him a whole new wardrobe. The student stood there smiling from ear to ear, and as I heard this story, I did my best to hold back tears. Empowering students to take action not only to benefit themselves, but also his family is why we all do this work. Okay, sorry. I'm going to pass it over to Anna Litz to touch on our garden education program.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. Good evening. Again, my name is Anna Litz. I am the garden manager and educator with the Farm to School program. Over the last year and a half, I've had the honor of working with over 10,500 students and numerous teachers to create 11 school gardens found across the school district. These gardens, they serve as both a learning center and a mental resiliency zone on campus. Each garden has been created and sustained with each student's interest and need in mind. So for example, over at Rio Mesa, we worked with students from the WEIB program and inspirational teachers such as Sandra Chiproot, Chris Moody, and Shi Young Kim to create an ongoing garden project called the Zen Zone. This garden seed was planted when a Rio Mesa valedictorian openly discussed her depression and anxiety at graduation. In response to her depression and anxiety, she designed a Zen Zone and inspired her peers to take action and to create this space on campus. Thanks to many Saturday morning work days and those students' persistent passion, a calming, nature-filled area is now on campus for those students to enjoy. This garden is truly a student's voice and passion truly coming to fruition. Over at the Pacifico Garden, the teachers were really interested in creating a garden that serves as a learning center for hands-on experiences with the nitrogen cycle, decomposers, sustainability, and the culinary program. Students from the science courses and other programs as well maintain and study the wonders of the garden while growing food for that program. What we've learned is that gardens are not a one-size-fits-all. They serve a wide range of needs for a diverse group of people and interests. The Frontier High School garden began as a small, scrappy space of weeds and grasses located in the PE area. We began this garden by meeting at 7 a.m. before school with teachers and students to tear out those old, overgrown weeds and grasses. It was clear to see right away that this garden would bloom to life with these determined individuals. Over the last year and a half, the PE classes led by Gerald Senegal and Salvador Montalongo tend to this garden multiple times a week with their students. From weeding to sampling their crops and turning the compost, the garden serves as a space where you can clear your head or get an extra workout in. Over at Rancho Campana and Adolfo Camarillo, the gardens actually inspired the students on campus to create a food waste reduction by doing a campus-wide compost project, which has really been cool to see those students take leadership over there. And to close, I would like to share an email with you from Miss Malloy, an incredible teacher over at Channel Islands, who will regularly bring her students over to the garden. These students, while apprehensive at first about the garden, they quickly became leaders and developed a sense of pride and ownership in their school garden. I'll begin reading now. I take my group of gentlemen out to the Channel Islands garden every other Thursday or so. We have performed lessons such as soil profiles, composting, erosion, and water quality to tie into our experience at the garden. And it has provided the young men with an opportunity to accept ownership of something that the 4 qualities that Channel Island embodies. I have one student in my class who has fairly moderate difficulties with mental illness. He has previously run away and prefers to withdraw in peer settings. When we're in the garden, he comes alive, which has been pure joy to watch. However, the more extraordinary and inspirational aspect of the visitations is watching the other boys as they encourage him, praise his efforts, and help him to feel like a valuable member of the community. While in the garden today, I had to hide my tears from the boys because on 3 separate occasions, 3 different students included him in activities and showered him with positivity. I know that many of the boys share classes with one another, and I don't always get to see them interact. But today, my class was full of beautiful role models and champions of inclusion. I'm so blessed to be their leader, and I'm beyond grateful for the moments that they teach me and Old Dog new tricks. So that is still my favorite email I've ever received while working with Oxnard Union. It just makes me smile every time. We're so grateful for the opportunity to continue growing and sustaining these spaces across the district so they can be used by teachers and students for years to come. We look forward to the continued collaboration with all of the wonderful teachers and faculty that help make these gardens possible and help us with all of it. And thank you for your continued support. And if you'd ever like to come to one of the gardens, just let me know and we'll take you out. I'm going to turn it back over to our fearless farm to school leader, Miss Anna Jackson.
Thank you, Anna. That was wonderful. And just to wrap up, I want to thank all of our administrators one more time for allowing us to have the opportunity to have this program in the district. We love what we do. We thank you for supporting us. And last but definitely not least, a huge thank you to Stephanie Gillenberg. Hi, Stephanie, for all of your support over the past several years to build and help me establish this program. We could not have done it without you, and all of our nutrition services staff in our cafeterias who are incredible. We love them. And so we're very excited to continue our work supporting OUHSD students and staff on their journey to lifelong wellness. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
Nice. That was amazing. Incredible. Thank you so much, everybody. That was inspiring and heartwarming. And I think especially now, you know, as a teacher, I'm missing my students, and I know you are too. And it's such an inspiration that your project outlives all of us. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Trustee Sher, can I make a comment?
Please, Trustee Herrera.
So the whole team, thank you for a great presentation. It's very insightful and helpful for us to see the work that you do every day with the students. I just want to add to that wonderful email that Ms. Litz just read out. But in the last year or so, you know, I work at Ventura College as a counselor, and one of the new majors that we have is agriculture business. But more and more students are coming forward that have experienced the garden in our district in the last year or so, and their thoughts about what they can be in the future. I'm seeing, you know, you talk about the human body and nutrition and health and wellness, but really about opening the career opportunities for students. I mean, they can go in so many ways. They can be a registered dietitian. They could be a kinesiologist. They can become an ag person. They could go into sustainability. So you are expanding the minds of so many students in a way that is so real and practical and approachable, because anyone can grow a garden really in a bucket if you wanted to. So I really want to give kudos to your whole team, to the nutritional services and all the leaders in that area, because you are touching people's lives without realizing, maybe, I don't know, maybe you do already, but definitely how it's expanding beyond just what you see in this school district. So thank you so much for your efforts. Don't stop.
Oh, thank you.
Don't stop.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Yes. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment? I can't see everyone's faces.
Just one quick question, if I could.
Dr. Davis.
Yes, I believe you mentioned 11 gardens throughout the district. And I know we have 7 comprehensive high schools. Frontier was mentioned as one awardee, as well as Oxnard Middle College. Does some school then have more than one garden?
Correct.
Okay,
A few schools have a few gardens.
that's nice to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great presentation and great work
you.
on behalf of our students. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Dr. DeLeon.
I just would like to say, number one, great presentation, fantastic program. I know we're going to win a golden bell for this. I believe we are, for sure. And I just hope you guys will invite me back. But I will say that I can vouch for the tastiness of your fruits and vegetables, because I've had more than one meal created by our culinary programs, where they used their farm to school vegetables and fruits. And so I just want to say to you, it's fantastic. And I think of a even more holistic program. I mean, so many different areas are involved in this, as Trustee Herrera said, and really exposing kids to multiple different careers and experiences. So thank you so much.
As you know, I would like to also, and Dr. Hall, I see you, but I would like to thank my fellow trustees as well with regard to this issue, and of course the superintendent. But you know, this is a long time coming, and when I came on board, you know, this was one of the first issues that I voted on, was the nutrition services, and we have come so far, and our students show it. Their success shows it. Their UCCSU, I don't think their acceptance rates and their A through G requirement, you know, initiative, and all of those things don't come without good nutrition. And so this is a long time coming for us. We've worked really hard at this, and we want to thank everyone who has really done the work, because we have just said, please go do this. And you've all done it. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, as a parent, as a teacher, as a trustee, as a community member. And I know Dr. Hall would like to make a comment, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for your outstanding presentation, and congratulations. I'm so happy we're recognizing all the students that contributed to it as well. Great job all around.
Yes.
Woo!
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
So we are moving on
to the
virtual public hearing.
Correct.
And I have a script to read. This is item A, Oxnard Federation of Teachers and School Employees 2018 through 21 Classified Unit Initial Bargaining Proposal to the Oxnard Union High School District. This is the time and place designated for the public hearing of the 2018 through 21 Classified Bargaining Agreement Initial Proposal of the Oxnard Federation of Teachers and School Employees in accordance with Government Code Section 3547. I declare the hearing is now open. Is there anyone present who wishes to provide comments regarding the initial bargaining agreement proposal of the Oxnard Federation of Teachers and School Employees? If so, please come forward by email or in the boardroom at this time. State your name and address your comments to the board.
Madam President, no one is in the boardroom except
Thank
the
you.
3 trustees.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. De Leon, have there been any comments emailed to you?
There have been none regarding this item.
Okay. So if there are, do trustees have comments? If there are no comments, I will declare the public hearing closed. Seeing that there are no comments before the board, I will declare the public hearing closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we're moving on to action item A, 11A, which is consideration of acceptance of the Oxnard Federation of Teachers and School Employees initial bargaining proposal to the OUHSD board.
I'll motion for approval.
I second.
Okay, with a first and a second, are there any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, motion passes. And we are on 11B, which is the grading.
Yes.
We moved it up.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Scher. As soon as I present it, just for everybody's knowledge, then we will have a public comment from Mr. Valdez. But I think it'd be better, and I already talked to him about this, if it's okay, if I go through it and then he wants to make his comments. And he has those ready to go. So we'll call on him when it's time.
Okay.
Okay, so I want this board to know that we worked collaboratively with a grading guiding coalition of teachers, administrators, and members of the executive board of OFTSE, 85 different folks on a remote meeting. to come to an agreement on a resolution for how we will conduct grading during the COVID-19 school closures. There were many different concerns brought up, different ideas brought up. Our main focus, as always in this district, remains equity and ensuring that we have some form of equitable grading process, which takes into consideration all of the students who are out there who are experiencing dire situations. I can tell you that after much talk about that concept, but also the concept of kids and parents who and teachers who really want their students to be able to get grades for grade improvement. There was much discussion about this, and I think many opposing opinions. And we discovered after probably about 2 hours that the only way we could come to consensus was to have some sort of compromise that included sort of all of the above in a multiple option kind of resolution. You will see going through this resolution that what we came up with was we will give as a default pass, credit, or incomplete. And let me explain to you what exactly that is. Pass is for any student who is 70% or above as per the teacher's own grading policy. And that is because the colleges require a pass to be 70%. But how the teachers come up with the 70% in their own grading procedures, we've always just followed whatever the teacher's grade is. So it's however, we've asked them to be flexible and empathetic in their grading in terms of assignments, the submission of assignments, late assignments, incomplete assignments, students who aren't able to attend all the time, understanding. And I also want to just let me back up a little bit. We met with our students. My superintendent's student advisory council met, and we took input from our kids, many kids, both high achieving, very high achieving students at all schools, and also students who are mid-range and maybe not as high achieving. And all but one student really mentioned that they themselves were experiencing really extenuating circumstances. We had kids who are working in farms, kids who are working 2 jobs, one full-time, one part-time, coming home and watching siblings. We have students who are having to go from home to home, students who are suddenly homeless, have no place, and they're staying with one relative one weekend and another relative another week. And it's just been unbelievable. And the further this closure goes, the longer it goes, the more people who will be in dire situations. And so that was my presentation I presented at the Grading Coalition, but that was the feedback I brought from the students directly. The students themselves are struggling. Our top students, we have kids who have been accepted to prestigious universities who are unable to keep up because of the demands of their home life right now, and homelessness, food insecurity, and having to work. I take that very seriously as a superintendent, and I am brokenhearted to hear about the strain on our students. So that is to preface the conversation we had then following that in the Grading Guiding Coalition with our staff, our faculty, and our administrators. I brought to them the input of the students. And also there were students who said, hey, I really want grade improvement because I want to improve my GPA for my scholarships. Okay. I'm going to say to you, this was the best compromise we could come up with, which was, and then I'll tell you my thoughts about it. We came up with a default pass, which is 70% or above, credit, which is 60 to 69%, and incomplete for anything below 60%, which would be 59 or below, with giving those students ample opportunity on Edgenuity to finish only the parts that they missed in class to be able to improve their grade. So we have the ability of to give our students pretty much every course we have in this district online. And at a later date, when we come back, they would have the ability to complete that incomplete by completing whatever unit out of the course or units that they happen to miss because of the demands of their personal life. So it's a default with students, with teachers, though teachers will continue to grade and keep grades. They will post grades at the end for each student. And then our students will have 5 days to say whether they would like a letter grade for grade improvement purposes only. So a student who had a B who went to an A now, they can choose to have a letter grade of A, or they can choose to stay with the pass, the credit, or the incomplete. We believe that was the best compromise. Rather than having kids decide now, as many districts, kids have already had to decide whether they wanted letter grades or not. We didn't think that was fair either. This gives them the chance to see what their grade would be and to be held harmless. So if it's anything less than they already have, they can choose to have a pass. And let me tell you about that. So we've received information from the universities that if a district chooses to go pass, no pass, or a combination some of that students with the pass, no pass for this semester who choose that, that will not be calculated in their GPA. It'll be as if they didn't, they'll pass the class, but it won't help or hinder their GPA in any way. If the child gets a grade for a grade improvement, that can improve their GPA for our UCs and CSU systems, if that makes sense. So if our kids choose a pass, it will not affect them anyway. And we did get confirmation. If they do get a better grade, they can use that to improve their GPA. Now, that is what we agreed upon as a district, and that is what is in your resolution tonight. Following this meeting, should the resolution be approved, we will give very specific grading details on how all of this will fall out to our teachers. Our goal is to complete grading by June 5th, which is earlier than normal, but that gives teachers time to get the grades in, kids to see them, and then they'll have a full 5 days to get their choice of either pass, no pass, or a letter grade improvement, that choice to their teachers. We have set up their grade books so that a teacher can choose a pass, no pass for a child or put the letter grade in. They can do either. Our teachers can do either. So what that accomplishes is our teachers really felt, a great number of our teachers really felt that kids who already have high grades wouldn't work anymore if they didn't have some form of grading to keep them motivated and to keep them working. They also wanted to give kids an opportunity to improve their grades or their GPAs. And that was very important, particularly with some of our high achieving students and their families and their parents. And that was the feedback we got from some of our parents as well. Not all of our parents, some. So with all of that being said, here is what I am going to say as superintendent of this district. I don't wholly support the resolution. I support the agreement, and I will support the agreement and the compromise. And I will tell you why I don't wholly support it. This would not have been my choice. My choice would have been to be a pass, no pass, or pass credit incomplete grading system, period. And I'll tell you why. And by the way, one of the most affluent districts in this state, Palo Alto, was the first one to go pass, no pass. They're across the street from Stanford. They have tons of kids going to prestigious schools. And I'll tell you why. Because a system where some students will have the ability to improve their grades and choose a letter grade, while other even very high achieving students will not have that same ability because of their home circumstances and will not have a grade improvement, and then not be able to bump up their GPA, which is the purpose. That creates a system of inequity, as far as I'm concerned. Is it kind of placating and giving everybody sort of what they want and a compromise? It is. I think people will be happy with this as a whole. I am not, as superintendent of your district. We are still saying to kids who are in fields right now with their parents, who are watching siblings, who are now homeless, moving from home to home, who have food insecurity, who have a multitude of other issues that they're dealing with, who've been accepted to prestigious universities, blah, 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 all of those things, or who are planning on going to one next year as a junior, applying to one next year. I mean, next year as a senior. Those children are at a disadvantage. They won't be able to get grade improvement. They will end up taking a pass. I'm sure they'll do well enough to get a pass. They will not have that competitive bump in their GPA. And any system that gives an advantage to one group of students and a disadvantage to another by no fault of their own is an inequitable system, in my view. I, however, as superintendent, cannot convene a group of 85 educators and not come to a consensus and present a consensus resolution. And yes, it makes many different people happy. I am unhappy with it for those reasons. Now, and I'm just going to tell you a little on a personal note, I was talking with my husband about this, and he came here at the age of 14 as an immigrant from Guatemala. When I told him about this and how this system sets up an inequitable scenario for our kids, it's setting up inequities, promoting inequities without any fault of anybody. By the way, this is not anybody's fault. It's COVID fault, right? This is school closures. It's a result of that. And I very, very respectfully honor the opinions of all of our educators who gave opinions in this, okay? But when talking to my husband, and I mentioned this to him, he says, well, you know what, Penny? Those kids have disadvantages their whole lives. That's what their whole life will be like. And when he said that to me, that was a stake in my heart, because I feel like as a school district, we're trying to help kids get out of that. So I just want to tell you, I'm not that thrilled with this resolution, but I will support it because it was the agreement of our educators who were at the table that day. And I have to respect our educators who are doing this work. But I just wanted to give you my opinion about this as your superintendent. And then we did have a teacher who wanted to make public comment. And I don't know if there's anything else Dr. McCoy wanted to say, but I feel like we would never have come to an agreement, and this was the best we could get to in terms of consensus with our grading guiding coalition.
I'll have some comment after Mr. Valdez is able to give his comment.
Okay. At this time, Mr. Valdez, would you like to give your public comment at this time? Mr. Valdez is a teacher in our district at Pacifica High School.
Yes, thank you, Dr. De Leon.
Excuse me for just 1 second. I think before we open it to public comment,
okay.
I should read the rules about that. Okay.
Yes.
So just thank you very much. That says public comments to address the Board of Trustees. Those persons wishing to address the board may do so at this time by completing a speaker card. All public comments are to be directed to the board president. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Please refer to the complete text of the Oxnard Union High School District Board Policy 9323, Procedures for Communicating with the Board of Trustees. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Valdez.
And I just wanted to mention that as per our posting of the agenda for the COVID disclosures, Mr. Valdez did follow that and email me his comments in advance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. De Leon and President Scher. Board trustees and Dr. De Leon, I commend all of you on gathering input from all stakeholders before formulating the resolution regarding grading. While I'm certain all members of the Grading Guiding Coalition had the best interests of students in mind, this intention was not translated in the policy of the resolution. There are 2 reasons for this. First, the resolution is inequitable. Second, the resolution makes inaccurate assumptions about grading capabilities during this period of the COVID-19 crisis. The board's mission is to provide equitable supports, opportunities for success, and access to options for every student. The option of letter grades or pass, no pass gives some students an unfair advantage, making it by definition inequitable. Students with robust resources and support in their home environment will voluntarily choose letter grades, while students without these will be involuntarily forced into pass, no pass. Students who would otherwise choose letter grades can't because circumstances beyond their control, such as having to work to feed their families, prevent them. The resolution also contradicts Board Goal 4 to provide targeted, effective support for English learners, students with disabilities, foster youth, and low-income students in order to close the achievement gap. Because these students are the most likely to lack the aforementioned home resources and support, the resolution will most harm the students that the goal states you are most focused on helping. The achievement gap is a function of the opportunity gap. Instead of providing opportunities for every student, the resolution robs opportunity from our most needy students. Instead of closing the achievement gap, as you have all worked admirably to do, the resolution will set a precedent and threaten to widen the gap into a chasm. Students among different schools and even at the same schools and in the same classes will see the divides among them expand. The resolution will exacerbate the toxic culture of competition that grades trigger instead of the collaboration Board Goal 1 seeks to cultivate. The resolution also makes inaccurate assumptions about grading. Grading is a measure of learning performance. This crisis is impeding students' ability to learn and teachers' ability to teach. While the effort of teachers during this time has been heroic, we have little to no pedagogical training on effective distance learning. So if students can't learn as normal and teachers can't teach as normal, then we can't grade as normal. We can't grade what we can't accurately measure. Giving grades now would be like measuring with a ruler that has had the marking sanded off. March 2020 marked a paradigm shift in education. As forward-thinking educators, you must recognize the resolution entrenches us in an extinct paradigm instead of propelling us into the next one. The resolution is in direct violation of several of the board's goals and the board's mission to provide equity. I respectfully request you amend the resolution so that every student is assessed only with pass, no pass. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. Thank you, Mr. Valdez. Thank you very much.
So President Chair, I just have a couple other technical pieces before trustees begin their discussion. So we have received very logical advice from the CSU and UC, from the Association of Private and Independent Schools, that students during this closure who receive a grade of pass will not be impacted when it comes to the scales of admissions. That would also include current 11th and 10th graders that would apply in future years. We have spent a lot of time in distance learning trying to eliminate zeros from any policies. You'll see in your resolution that number 3, students would be given full credit for work satisfactorily completed without timeline. Those are the moving parts of the resolution that we're trying to make sure are emphasized. Following the conclusion of tonight's meeting, we'll create an FAQ, a frequently asked questions for grading, that we'll review with our distance learning committee, which is about 60 teachers, on Friday, and then we'll push that out through the principals as well. So we had to create the percentages in item number 6 to verify to UC and CSU that a pass grade will give students A to G credit. A grade of credit will not. So just to reiterate Superintendent De Leon's comment, the teacher of record will determine what 70% means. There is no district determination. And we are, again, as stated by our speaker and Superintendent De Leon, requesting flexibility, requesting that teachers consider the situation students are in, and that those situations are changing daily for students. So we are going to be emphasizing pass, credit, and incomplete. And lastly, we have extended the deadline. Typically, our incompletes are due 2 weeks into the new term. With the suspension of Board Policy 5121 in this resolution, we've extended the deadline to complete courses given an incomplete to the end of semester 1 of the next school year. We will be working with each site to ensure that students have an opportunity beginning in summer and ongoing to complete the courses. And just as a note, the teacher of record who typically completes the incomplete coursework will not be that person in this case. We will use our Edgenuity and Oxnard online courses and facilitate completion of the incompletes so teachers can focus on their new group of students in the fall. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Do any trustees have any comments or questions?
I have questions when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Dr. Davis?
Shall I begin with my question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just from the document that's before us, not really debating or considering the point of view that the superintendent presented. In the middle of the document that's before us, the last statement at the top, be it resolved during this time of COVID school closures. So I would understand that this presentation, however it's finally resolved, this resolution, I should say, would be for summer school as well as the spring term that we are currently in?
I would like it to extend through summer school because I don't think we're going to be done. I would like it to, yes.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Completely back.
Yeah, it might be well to say that somewhere in here as
Okay.
well. If I can jump down to number 4 with the suspension of the district's grading and evaluation policy, how does all of this discussion impact the selection of valedictorian and salutatorian for this graduating class?
We already know what their GPAs are, so we would push for GPAs. It would be based on their 7th semester GPA versus their 8th semester GPA.
So it would not include the letter grade the student had in mid-March when school closures?
I don't think that would be fair. Some people we hadn't even put grades in completely. So I think it would be better to use the last complete GPA for 7th semester.
That clarification might be well a part of this resolution.
I would agree with that, Dr. Davis.
So number 5, the last
I see a lot
sentence-
of head shaking. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's no problem
We
at all.
can definitely amend it to include that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just give it some
Tom,
input
could you-
for clarification.
Tom, could you take notes on the amendments that are being requested or recommended by the board?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's just my thought. I haven't, of course, I'm sharing with my
We're
colleagues.
just taking notes, yeah.
Appreciate that. Number 5, the last sentence, students' grades will not decrease due to distance learning. So I want to flesh that out a little bit. A student had a certain grade in a class as of mid-March when schools closed. I have a C, okay, in a given course. I do nothing from that point on regarding distance learning. I don't participate. I don't check in. I don't do anything. I still have my C locked. Is that what that says?
What Dr. Davis, when we've talked about that is a student who would earn an incomplete. Students that are unable or are able but haven't participated in distance learning would have an incomplete, and we would pick that course up in the Edgenuity system from the point they left the course on March 13th. So they do need to participate in the distance learning to earn the pass or credit.
That is not clear to me in reading this document.
Yeah.
But thank you for that clarification. But another point that may be reviewed. Number 6, regarding the concept of the pass, according to individual teachers' grading rubric and credit, etc. How will the student know the individual teacher's grading rubric?
The teachers are expected, once we have, most teachers have been waiting for a district resolution to determine their distance learning assessment policy. So once we set the parameters of the policy, teachers will inform students about how their assignments interact with the policy that's been created through this resolution. What we're really pushing and having a lot of conversation about is workload during each week, and then the timeline in which students should return work for feedback. As Mr. Valdez had stated, teachers that have a grading rubric that's based on student performance and have an advantage going into this situation, because they can provide the students, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 4 on this assignment. This is a 3, and they can give they're giving that criteria as the assignment is given. Unfortunately, some who rely on sort of 10 points per assignment, multiple assignments per day, are having more difficulty with distance learning. So they're the ones we're really trying to provide training and support about understanding that you may think an assignment takes an hour. It may take some students in this environment 5 hours, 10 hours, or 2 days, or 3 days to complete. So we are trying to first confirm the grading resolution, then assist teachers on developing their in-course grades as they need that assistance.
All right, and in that same section, number 6, the pass for the 70% and the credit for 60%. Help me understand, as a parent, let's say, 70% of what? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's just what we were discussing a moment ago. Once we know what the parameter of the policy is, the teacher can make a determination. We are recommending 2 to 3 assignments per week delivered on the first day of the week with a flexible timeline.
Yes.
We're recommending the live meetups once a week, office hours once a week, and we are trying to keep everyone sort of on notice that students are taking 6 distance learning classes, which isn't something that's typically done. Most distance learning, you're going to take 1 or 2 at a time. So we really have tried to manage workload, and the 70% would be a combination of the student's performance to March 13th and the student's ability to interact with the assignments that are given during distance learning.
All right, so is it 70% of assignment completion or quality of the assignments, or altogether according to the rubric?
It would be according to the teacher's rubric. We are really hoping that teachers will consider participation, engagement more heavily than rote numbers and returning assignments with particular scores. We're really discouraging large point grading scales that we have sometimes seen in the past. 1,000 points and 700 points is pass. We're really discouraging that in this environment.
Okay, let me ask one or two more quickly. Number 7, then, those students receiving the incomplete, and then as you clarified, that can be completed throughout the first semester of next fall. Is that practical for the graduating senior, that particular option?
The graduating seniors are already being evaluated and placed in credit recovery during this time of closure through Edgenuity. So we've asked principals and the counseling teams to identify every senior that is deficient below the credits that they're currently enrolled in. And every year we have a number of seniors that are going to participate in credit recovery basically between May 1 and June graduation. So if the students need more time, we would enroll them in the senior success program through Condor High School and summer school, as we've typically done. but we're doing our best to try and recover every senior, not only through distance learning, but the courses they would have needed to take through credit recovery during this spring. So we're working on that.
Okay. And my last question, number 8, the request will be made to the teacher within 5 days of the due date, et cetera. In that last line, how would a student do that?
We're going to develop an online form, a Google form that the teacher would push out through the course, and then students would have basically the June 8th to June 12th to return that request. We also would not require the students to take all grades or all pass. They could decide by individual course. And we did want to say that the student could opt back into the pass if, let's say, for some reason they thought they were getting an A. The teacher said, if you take a letter grade, it'll be a C. The student can then say, well, I would like pass instead. We won't hold them to the request if they need to change their mind.
This, my last comment then, not a question, just to my colleagues. This appears to be a sensitive issue, and we respect the input of Dr. De Leon and also our teacher speaker as well. Where I'm going with this is I'd like to see this document, since we just received it this afternoon. I'd like to see this, perhaps another draft of that, taking some of the input, at least that I've suggested, and then maybe another document reflecting the sentiments of the superintendent and her staff, and not force us to make it, unless there's a critical issue that this can't wait for 2 weeks. On these sensitive issues, I like to have some time to reflect, think about, and bring this back to us on May 13th with both versions, and then we come to some closure. That's just, to my colleagues, where I'd like to see this go.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. I would agree with that. I can't see everybody on the screen, so is there anyone who would like to make a comment? Dr. Hall? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Gary, thank you. Dr. Davis, thank you for your questions. You asked about 3 of mine, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
I have a question for, my first question is number 6. What is, if it assume, let's say we're talking about an A through G class, does the CSU and UC differentiate between a pass versus a credit grade?
Yes. So the UC language that we've been given says that a pass is telling the UC that the student is A to G ready in that course, and that the equivalent is a C or a 70%. So we put the 70% in the resolution as the documentation that for this district, pass is UC credit bearing A to G, and the word credit is below the line for UC A to G. There are some districts using the word credit as the 70% marker. Right. Okay. So we debated creating another word, but this particular version of pass credit incomplete seemed to make a lot of sense to the majority of the teachers on the call when we had the grading coalition.
I would just ask at some point if and when this is when we approve this resolution, that we make it very clear that pass means, you know, what it implies for A through G, and what credit does not imply for A through G. I think it's real important that people understand that.
We'll include definitions in the footnotes.
Yeah, that credit. So basically I'm hearing is that credit counts for high school graduation, but it would not count for satisfying a specific A through G requirement.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And go ahead, Dr. Davis or Dr. Hall.
I was going to go to a different question, but
okay.
Okay, so the next question I had was on number 8. So why would the request have to be within 5 days?
That's to facilitate closing the end of the school year. So we have to get all the grades submitted so that we can update transcripts, that seniors can be defined as graduates, and that universities where kids have current admissions are waiting for a final transcript from us So we didn't want to have an undefined timeline. The reason the superintendent has recommended ending distance learning instruction on June 5th is so that we can give the following 5 days for students to consider if they would like to request a grade, and then still complete grading in our traditional grading window by June 16th. It will also give us some time to bring kids in small groups to collect textbooks and materials and clear lockers and those kinds of things.
Okay. Okay, but so what happens if someone is 7 days, it's 7 days after, and they want to change their grade? We just say, no, it's not within our policy.
Yes, we'd like to hold, there was a request to, it was part of the discussion in the large group that there needed to be a deadline so that teachers could complete their grade books for the year. So our recommendation is 5 school days.
Okay.
Obviously the weekend before would create 2 additional days for decision making.
I would just ask, as we're moving forward, that there be some type of consideration for extenuating circumstances. Given this natural disaster that we're experiencing, if there was an extenuating circumstance where for some reason a student or a family could not make contact in those 5 days, that we allow for that type of request, just in extenuating circumstances.
Dr. Hall, I think we can definitely do that. We would have to have a disclaimer that we would not be able to get that we have to have the cutoff for the transcripts because the universities are requesting them by July 1st.
Yeah.
And that we would not be able to go back, and it would be some time before that would be changed and we'd have to resend. So they would not necessarily make the deadlines for the university at that point.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Also, students who can't be reached and respond would receive an incomplete and then could come back and I believe clear the incomplete if they had completed everything but this request. But we can look at an extension. We just want to make sure that we have a deadline so that we can process all the grades and transcripts.
Okay. And then I had another question. So I just want to make sure I understand it, just kind of like understand this policy. So assuming someone's participating in distance education, okay, so for that student, on June 5th, the teacher is going to assign a grade to each student in their class. So let's say every student, someone's going to get an A, someone's going to get a B, someone's going to get a C, someone gets a D, whatever it is. Then at that point, the student has 5 days to request that it go to pass or credit. Is that right?
It's actually, we envision it the opposite way, that all students would receive pass, credit, or incomplete. Right. Those students who earned a pass could then request to see their letter grade equivalent and then could choose the letter grade instead of the pass. We're trying to make the pass, credit, incomplete is the default, which is why we're not taking requests for grades until after the course is complete.
Okay, so pass is the default, then you got to request a grade. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so in that 5 days, is it expected that there would be no additional assignments within those 5 days to increase your grade?
Yes.
Okay, so
it's done when it'll be done on Friday the 5th. That's it. No more opportunity after that.
Okay. So, and I also want to address an issue that the speaker said and Dr. De Leon said. So, is there a, I'm trying to think of how to frame the question here. Is there like a bias from a UC CSU anywhere between a letter grade and a pass grade?
Not for this semester. So we will actually be marking every transcript with COVID-19 closure on the transcript itself. So it'll say spring 2020 COVID-19 closure on the transcript document, which will help in future years everyone remember that that's why their student has grades of pass. The whole thing we keep trying to remind everyone is this isn't unique to us or Ventura County, but across the nation, all schools are battling this. What type of assessment, what type of grading system should we give? Our county is all over the place. So several districts are giving only letter grades. In this county, we haven't had a district commit to only pass credit yet, but like Dr. De Leon had mentioned, Poway Unified in San Diego with extremely high performing schools went pass, no pass credit, no pass last week. So
Can I add something, Dr. McCoy?
please.
Let me ask my follow-up question here real quick, because so is the inequity based on this? I want to make sure I really understand what the speaker said and what Dr. De Leon said. Is the inequity that if I'm a student who has not been relatively not impacted by COVID-19, that I'm not homeless, I'm not in that situation, then I have an unfair advantage to get like a 4.0 versus someone who's been devastated by this pandemic, been whole families laid off, the situations you described. So they're not really, they don't have the tools, they don't have the time to achieve that?
Correct. So the grade would be for grade improvement and or if they already have an A, right, in a class. Okay. So we have a number of kids who would like, and as you know, we have very high achievers who would like to do everything they can to pump up those GPAs, particularly when they're in classes that are on a 5-point scale.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can now have a 4.4, a 4.6, a 4.8, whatever it is. That is ingrained in many, many of our families, that system. We have kids who would not have that ability to get the grade bump, to get a grade improvement, to remain competitive in GPAs. So they are at a disadvantage because they would likely not be able to get that same high grade that they have gotten or maintain an A if they already had an A, etc. So they're not in a competitive situation and would likely select a pass, would not be able to do work, would not be able to keep up. Their grade would slip. They would not have the same advantage as another child who doesn't have those same circumstances. So it sets up an equitable advantage with GPAs, etc. Now, we did mention to the grading committee over and over and to, that, and I've mentioned this to families as well, that UC right now is saying that they're not, and CSUs are saying that they're not really seeing a difference. If a kid takes a pass, they're fine with that. Mm-hmm. But if the kid takes a letter grade, they are going to use that in the calculation of the GPA. So that's where the inequity comes from, is the child who doesn't have the opportunity to get to be competitive and or to get that grade bump or that grade improvement that they normally would have had. And it's a huge concern. We were talking to kids who had prestigious acceptances on the phone. Huge. And they're like, I'm working. There's
Dr.
no
De
way.
Leon, I feel like as a school teacher, I need to interject one point.
Yeah.
That, when you read a recipe, it never tells you that you need an oven, right? It's an inference. People assume that you need an oven to bake cookies. And all I keep thinking about distance learning, because I'm in it, is we are assuming that we have that children have families and parents and situations where they're able to.
Right.
We're just assuming.
Right.
And that, in my experience and what's happening in my classroom and across my district, is we have, at this point, I'm just, averaging in my own head, what I've been hearing is about 30% participation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we have 30% participation, I have no idea why the other 70% aren't there. I don't know. I really don't. Is it because they can't? Is it because they won't? Is it because they're just, I don't know. And it seems really, the equity issue is really glaring right now. It's like a flashing red light. And I understand the wanting of a letter grade, but it is an unfair advantage. It is to have two separate systems. It is. So as a person who's in it right now, as a classroom teacher, I think that to me, the equity issue is just overwhelmingly glaring. And as I would like to see this come back as, pass, no pass credit, or, I'm sorry, not that, but I have to read I see your hand, B, I see you. Pass, credit, incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Because what I feel is that I don't understand the whole notion of credit. I think that's really where I'm getting stuck. Is that something that we have created? Or is that something that is generally is that part of the UC suggestion? Explain to me that. And B, I do see you, so you can be next.
It is not. UCs, to give A through G credit, a student has to have a C or better. So we have to be able to define that in our policy by separating out what is a pass and what is a pass for graduation versus a pass for A through G, if that makes sense.
Right, I get that. I thank you. But is that part of so that's not from the UCCSU? That's not what they're saying.
UCCSU isn't even telling us what to call it. They will accept whatever we put on our transcripts for the child as long as they have a copy of what our grading is. So if we say pass is 70% on our key, that's what they accept.
So the one thing I would add, Trustee Scher, is that some districts have gone pass, no pass. And a pass means you're A to G, and a no pass is equivalent to a fail.
Oh, right.
And in our system, we've tried to eliminate the fail and eliminate the no pass and have credit as an option for teachers to work with students to say, this student deserves high school graduation for this experience, versus having to choose between A to G and not passing at all. So that was an idea that came from our teachers during the meeting, to have this intermediate step where if a student really is doing everything they can do, they're going to graduate from high school, but the teacher doesn't feel like this is an A to G equivalent in a pass, no pass environment, instead of no pass, credit, and then incomplete.
And the incomplete is not a fail. It's an incomplete with an opportunity to complete.
For the next one semester, yes.
So there is no fail.
Not in this policy.
Okay, that I really like. And Dr. Hall, I see you, but Trustee Herrera was first. So Trustee Herrera, thank you, everybody.
Are you ready? Okay, so I have a couple comments about the resolution, and I'm going to make them at the end, but I just want to have some things clarified first, and then I will engage in the comments and my opinion of this. And I do support Trustee Davis's recommendation. I don't think this resolution is ready to be voted on today, just from pieces of information that might still need to be clarified at all levels, whether PC, Cal State, whether faculty that teach all of these classes, and input from all the different stakeholders. But the first clarification was, this is for COVID-19 school closures for as long as the governor's orders are in place. In terms of, we're talking, it will be for sure spring and summer, and then we'll revisit this for fall if anything were to happen for fall. Is that correct? Okay?
Yes, correct.
So I just think we just need to be as specific as I would like to see, when does this sunset, The other part I'm having a really hard time understanding is, look at your number 5. It says, students shall be given an opportunity to distance learning to improve their grade. If this is the intent of what happens after March 13th, then everything else that follows, then it's going to be developed and created to support that statement that was just made. Because are we still teaching for the purpose of continuing to complete the curriculum that our faculty wrote and are teaching through their distance education formats to finish the semester? Or are we just working on, we're going to give you the opportunity to improve your grade? I see that as two different things. And maybe I'm naive or ignorant and I don't understand the language here, but what is the intent with that statement?
The intent in that statement is the students, most of them, and we have actually one issue where Rancho Campana started their new trimester on March 13th, so they didn't have a standing grade. But the philosophy was behind the statement is to give students credit toward the end of the course grade for the work they did through March 13, and knowing that the learning environment has changed significantly, to not hold closure related deficits against the students. And so you're absolutely right. There needs to be some clarification about how March 13th interacts with distance learning. As was mentioned earlier, a student who disappeared for all intents and purposes on March 13th would now receive an incomplete versus the grade that they would have been earning on March 13th. So I think we can clarify number 5, but the intent was do not fail a student, which we're taking off the table actually, but do not penalize a student who can't maintain their performance from March 13th through this closure crisis.
Because what I'm trying to understand, and I want to support our faculty and their intent and their efforts that they're making to really go online with all these different classes that they teach and do the best teaching they can given the limitations we have. Because the way I'm reading this is now I'm more of a, I'm going to give you extra points or whatever it might be just to give you that opportunity to improve your grade. But if I'm actually supposed to be teaching the whole content of the course outline till the very end, and that's what I'm going to be executing, then items 6 and 7 are telling me now, whatever that is that I'm teaching, this is the grading system that I'll be using, right? The 70% or the 60%. And for me, if I were a teacher, I would be a little bit concerned myself because it could be conflicting. What do the CSUs expect of me and the UCs expect out of these grades now? I work at a community college. The CSUs are allowing all community colleges and the students this semester pass, no pass, even in courses for the major. But they simplified it. It's pass, no pass. Now I understand here the need for the credit because that's only for our local requirements, not necessarily to meet the needs of the UCs or Cal States. So I understand why your team of 85 people would come up with the pass and the credit and the incomplete. The item on needing an opportunity for someone to change their grade, I understand the issues that the different individuals have raised about equity, but to me, there's other factors here of equity in terms of the perspective. Unless we can show that every single teacher taught to the level that UCs and Cal States are expecting them to teach for that letter grade, that to me is going to add more complex and more layers to this. Because if you do the rubric at 70% of what they're going to work on that, but I'm trying to figure the rigor of once you have gone to online. If I'm a new teacher going to online, maybe my teaching, maybe, I don't know, what have I done that would have been different had I been on a face-to-face? So to me, it's more deep and it's more complex than to simply say, well, at this point, everyone will have an opportunity to change their letter grade based on this rubric. And if it's a science discipline or it's a language arts discipline, are we all going to be on the same page together, given my level of performance as an instructor to deliver that content? So I'm concerned just in general for everyone, not just the students, but for the teachers as well. Am I going to feel the pressure that I have to now provide a research paper, 10 pages, so that I could hit the mark for the student to say, yes, I got an A in this class, and I fulfill the rigor of the content of the course outline of record. So I just want us to be sensitive to the needs of the student, but also to be fair across the board, not just to the student, but to our faculty that are teaching these courses. And that's why I'm a little bit concerned about the justification that we have for item 8. I'm concerned about that at many levels. So I think that going back to the work group and having more information about how they would address this, if the CSUs and UCs are saying, we will not use any grades from spring semester from March 13th to 2000, till the end, then why would we put this item on the table, item 8, if the CSUs and UCs, even private schools, are not going to do it? We're going to put not just the students under so much pressure, but also our faculty who are going to have to perform at that level, given all the nuances of online and distance learning. So I'm just concerned around across the board for everyone. And I believe that the more fair and just way is to keep it at a pass, credit, and incomplete. And have the teachers have the time to really teach what they need to teach, given the new format, but not to kill our teachers either in this process.
Thank you, Trustee Herrera. Dr. Hall? Dr. Hall?
I'm really appreciating the discussion and appreciate my colleagues' questions and comments. So let me ask a question here. So if at the end of the semester, one student has a 4.0, okay, 4.2, and another student has all passes, okay, what is the impact on those two students? Like, what is one better than the other, or what is the...
So what I'll tell you is there's a complicated myth among many of our families that a grade will make the student more quote unquote competitive in a college admissions process than a pass or than a grade of pass. We don't see that. It's really hard to get our parents to understand that universally this term, students across the country will be receiving a grade of pass, which, as was stated by many of us tonight, UC, CSU, and private schools will accept once we've verified that pass meets the C or better criteria in their admissions processes. So a lot of our teachers don't understand that the college admissions process, the GPA is just one moving part. It's really more about the courses the student takes relative to what's offered at their school. So what we heard from our UCSB counselors in the meeting, and Mary Cruz was working on this with the College Board, is that in this environment, the student that takes the rigorous course and receives a pass is considered as admissible in that environment. So I think that the pressure a lot of teachers and students are under is from the mythology around that A is going to make me competitive against a student from Conejo Valley who's earning an A.
Correct.
But what we're seeing is high performing districts, Palo Alto and Poway, they are giving all pass or no pass to universally to 100% of their students in high school. Those students are as competitive as any across the country, and our competitive students will still be competitive if we decided to take grades off the table totally.
May I also, can I add something really quick to
Dr. De Leon, yes.
Yes. This is partially part of the complicated mythology, as Dr. McCoy mentioned, is that our surrounding districts, particularly our districts to the east, decided on their grading policy very, very early in the closure and decided to make grades an option for anybody who wants grades. And so there is that mythology by particularly parents in Camarillo that because that's where most of that was coming from, that they will no longer be competitive with the Newberry Parks and the Thousand Oaks and the Moore Parks, the Coneos, all that, right? And so that is a big part of it. I can tell you right now that those districts decided as a pact, because they kind of always decide together. Conejo, Simi, and Moore Park kind of always go together. They decided very early on. It was not even a week later. So that has been sort of an ongoing pressure point coming up, and it comes up from our parents through our teachers, et cetera. And so that's where that is coming from. And it is myth. It's myth. We've been told over and over, it is myth.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. De Leon.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who has any comments or questions or suggestions? If not, I think we've had a lot of input. So
I just have one.
Trustee Hara.
An official notification from CSU and UCs. You could contact Stanford, you can contact Yale or Harvard. How they will want it in writing, how they're going to be viewing a pass, no pass.
Okay.
I know it's available because we got it. We got
Yes,
it
we have it.
at our college.
Absolutely, we have it.
So you'll bring back a draft with our comments for another read at the next board meeting.
And we will attach those documents as well. And I do believe that we may have actually already posted those on the website for our parents to peruse because of our updates. They've asked for them, and so we've put them up there. So, but we will attach them on the next draft. Absolutely.
And thank you to everybody for your work on this. You know, all the teachers and parents and all of you, of course, thank you for your hard work. We're all building the airplane as we fly it. And it's hard work. So thank you.
Is it the will of the board that I bring back both an updated draft and the original, or just an updated draft?
I think just an updated draft. Does anyone want the original as well?
Okay, we will do that.
Okay. I didn't hear anybody say anything
Oh, I'm
about
sorry. Yeah, I thought I heard yeses.
You did. Updated draft.
updated. Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you very much. So we're moving on
Okay.
to the superintendent's report.
Yes, and tonight my report is going to be an oral report to you. And what I wanted to do is for the public to make sure everybody knows, if they don't know, all of the amazing things that we're doing for our graduating seniors, for all of our seniors, for the class of 2020. We are really, really proud of what we're doing in this district. And I hope that our trustees will also be excited about it. I got to share it on TV, which was fun. And then also at 6:30 this morning, I was on KVTA with Tom and Rich on the radio sharing it. And what's really great too, and I have to give a shout out to our local news media and our television and radio stations and newspapers. They have all offered to run photos and stories about our seniors and all of those kinds of things. And so many thanks to them in their partnership. So first and foremost, just to make sure everybody knows, yes, our kids are getting lawn signs. They have been ordered. They look fabulous. Many thanks to Jeff and his staff for getting that done and getting that done very, very quickly. Takes a little bit longer than some other districts because we have 4,000 kids, but we're really excited about that. And every principal is currently creating a schedule for them that will be to figure out how to have kids to come get them. Probably it'll just be drive through, but they're going to, as soon as they're done, we will schedule them to come get those. So that's very, very cool. But the part people really wanted to know about is what kind of virtual graduation will we have? And I want everyone to know that I haven't closed the door or the window on the conversation of in person at a later date if we're able to do something in person. I think we owe them that option if that is something they would like to come back and do. We don't know how feasible or how many people would attend because people will be off at college at later dates in the fall, et cetera. But if it's something that schools feel that there is a strong demand for and they want to do, I don't want to say that we cannot consider that. We absolutely will consider that as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, in terms of our virtual graduation, we have, and you'll see the item and the revised cover on there tonight for Social Spice Media. They're helping us compile video montages for every single school. And you as trustees will be contacted because the video montage will contain well wishes from our trustees and from me and the principals. It will contain the Val Sal speeches and also probably a senior singer and probably the senior class president speeches, as well as a video montage of a senior photo and accomplishments of every single student in our district. And I spoke to Social Spice today, and the way they're doing it so that people don't have to watch a 4-hour video, because that is how long it takes to scroll through that 600 some odd slides. They're doing them in individual videos of 6 students apiece. And then it'll be by alpha. So folks will get the one that has their child in it versus having to watch every single child go through looking for their child. So they'll post the entire series and people will click on their alpha and be able to see their montage. And each video will also have a link to all the speeches. So they get to see all the speeches, the whole thing, and then click on the 6 profiles that has their child, the cluster of 6. So we thought that was really great. It's a lot of work for Social Spice. Those will also be posted on all of our social media. They will be sent to our local newspapers, radio stations, TV stations, and they said they will start running those for us as soon as they're done. The speeches will be recorded the week of May 18th by, thankfully, shout out to Mr. Todd Deerdorf, who is our digital media teacher over at Pacifica High School. I don't know how many of you have been into their studio, but that's where you'll be going to have your video message. So, and we'll schedule you so that you're there individually with all the social distancing. So that's what we're doing. Every parent will get a copy and links to that. So that's a fun thing. And then every site is also planning a way for their students, once they get their caps and gowns, to be able to come and either do a drive-through where they receive the diploma and a picture is taken, or a stage. We hope that even if they do a drive-through, they'll put a stage up. We've asked that they put a stage, and then they can get out of their car and individually go up and take a picture on the stage, which will have the graduation background and all of that with their diploma in hand. And then we will take a photo of that, and they will each get a photo in a little case that they can keep and sent to them. So of that photo. So those are some of the things that we're doing, and every site is doing it a little differently, and they have a little different flavor and different things that their ASB came up with. But we are honoring the desire of our students to come onto their campus and wear their cap and gown and take a photo with their diploma. So we will be doing that. And it's going to be over a series of days because it's going to take time to get everybody an individual sort of appointments, right? But we would love it if there's any day where a trustee wants to come and be up there. And of course, standing 6 feet apart, but to be in the picture with the kid to make it even better. So if any of you are interested in doing that, you can do that too. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be good stuff. And I do know that Adolfo Camarillo is already planning on going and honking through town and having a car, a caravan of cars. So everybody will be in their own car driving through town. And I know their teachers are going to do that as well. So anyway, some of our sites, the teachers are doing a video montage to send to the kids, and it's cool. So really good stuff happening for graduation. So I did want to announce that to all of our millions of viewers who will be watching this board meeting tomorrow so they know what we're doing for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. De Leon.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's so exciting. I know I've been hearing all over about the yard signs. That right now is like the big.
That's the hot topic.
Yeah.
That's the hot topic. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any comments or questions? I can't see everybody. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar.
I think we do have our student board representative.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh my gosh. So sorry. Student representative to the board, Anthony Farfan.
Hello. Well, I don't really have much. Unfortunately, I don't have really much to report just because.
We are so happy to see you. Well.
Hope you all of you are doing well as well.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have much to report, just being that school isn't really in session right now. But I would like to point out and give credit to Oxnard High School and CI. I've been seeing a lot of them posts online on social media, trying to get people encouraged with like spirit days, but just do things like Instagram or Twitter. I just thought that was a really good way of getting people involved. But that's really all I can report right now.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Of course.
Yes, thank you, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So consent calendar, and we have pulled item C. Although I'm so sorry, I don't remember which trustee asked me to pull that item. So,
Trustee Scher, I think you take the consent calendar as remaining, and we vote upon the consent as we would traditionally do, and then we take the pulled items and take those one by one afterwards.
okay, thank you very much for that clarification.
Yeah.
So we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
With excluding?
With the excluding, and I have it listed. It's items C, B, B, S, S, and UU.
All righty.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Hall.
Second.
Was that Trustee Herrera?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar minus those items mentioned, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say no. All right, consent calendar is approved. So sorry.
It was me.
Yes, Dr. Davis.
For item C, would you like me to address item C?
Please do, yes.
Okay. I have no concerns at all about it. In fact, I would like to make the motion to accept the June 30th, 2019 general obligation bond, Measure A, financial performance and audit report with the addition, and I'm quoting from the report itself, and I think it's just important for the district's communication with our public. With this addition, the auditors found that the results of our test indicated that in all significant respects, the Oxnard Union High School District has properly accounted for the expenditures held in the building fund, Measure A, and that such expenditures were made for authorized bond projects. I would just like that to be a part of my motion.
That's
Second.
very exciting. That's great work. Well done, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Thank you to our Measure A Oversight Committee.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein and his team for making sure we are keeping up with all of our bond projects and our Measure A expenditures. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Dr. Davis, because good eyes, and thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Davis.
Yes. All right, so moving on to item BB.
Did we vote on it?
I'm so sorry. Yes, we have to vote on it. So do you have a first or for that?
We did.
And a second.
And a second. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you for that. So now moving on to item BB. which is the consideration of approval of contract award to Flelling and Moody Architects.
I asked to have this pulled. Would you like me to address my comments?
Please do.
Okay. To my colleagues, and of course to administrative staff. So this is an award for architectural services for, as it says on the cover, and I'm looking at the cover page, to provide the charging stations for the new electric buses that we received gratis through either a grant or a special way. But this is for the charging station because, as it is well explained, the charging stations are the responsibility of the district. I'm clear on that. The fiscal implications, this grant award of about $250,000 is aimed at a bus charging station, as it says on the cover page, from $2.4 million to $2.6 million for the station itself. Then I turn to page 5 of the document, and the project budget notes that for the purposes of this proposal, a rough preliminary project construction cost is estimated at $3.4 to $3.6 million based upon the schematic design estimates provided in August of 2018. Regardless of the amounts, which I find a tremendous amount of money for architectural design, I want to remind my colleagues that back on September 11th, 9/11, 2019, we were presented with a concept to approve. And the concept was approval of a transportation center. We discussed this that night at great length, and I'm looking at the minutes that the trustees expressed their concern of funding and requested that this item be brought back as a staff report in a phased approach with options. There was no action taken at this time for the MOT Transportation Center. So I'm not ready to approve a contract for design for that amount of money of architectural fees for a facility that's going to run somewhere between 2.4 million and maybe up as high on page 5 as 3.6 million, when I don't really know what the project is, and that we, as a trustee board, we had grave concerns about that kind of expenditure back in September. So I would like to see us put this back to staff, bring us what we asked to have back in September, a better picture, rather than to award that kind of money now for something that we may or may not approve. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there anyone else who has a comment or a question?
Can't we temporarily find some place where we could put a recharging station on an existing site now? I don't want a transportation center, but can't we put it at one of the sites, a recharging?
I think we need to let Jeff answer.
So right now, the only site where we can store and charge electrical buses would be behind Oxnard. As far as entering and exiting the property, the other only site that would allow us to do it would be Rancho Campana, but the city does not want us to put a bus terminal recharging site there. Because of the traffic flow already, we have an agreement with the city that over X amount of years, we will not increase the traffic on those side streets. So right now, the charging stations themselves are free to us through the grants that we've applied for. The infrastructure to get them set up and also pave those areas for the buses to be able to go, park, turn around, is where we're talking about. There's actually no buildings being built. There's no transportation center. This is just really for a recharging station. Along with the recharging stations, the grant approved over the next 3 years for 9 buses. So that is each electrical bus costs between $300,000 and $350,000. So the actual grant that we've gotten approved for is around $3.2 million for buses and charging stations. We have to have the charging stations before they'll give us the buses. Right now we have approximately 9 buses that automatically by regulatory decree from the state will have to take off the road in the next 3 years. So we felt that the electric buses were getting them free would be worth to build the infrastructure for the transportation center if it's going to be built, by taking the utilities there and then paving the area that needs to be paved and installing the charging stations. The actual charging stations themselves are free. It's the installation, the infrastructure, the grading to meet all the standards, as well as the paving of the enough area to have those buses, eventually 9 buses there. So that's the proposal, really what we're looking at. But we can definitely bring it back later on with more information.
So Jeff, are you saying that we're going to have to go to electric buses? We have no choice.
Well, we have to
that, right?
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
It's not electric. We don't have to go to electric buses, but we do have to replace the existing buses, non-existing buses. So a regular bus right now, the buses that we use cost around $200,000. So over the next 3 years, we'll have between $1.8 and $2 million worth of buses have to be replaced, or they have to be taken off the road and we cannot use them. So we were able to get a grant to have the buses free, as well as the charging stations. So basically the buses themselves will get 3 each year, which is $990,000 worth of buses each year for free. And then the charging stations themselves are free from Southern California Edison. But we have to pay for the infrastructure, the setup, the grading, as well as paving the area that these 9 buses will eventually sit on. So that's what we're looking at here. But we can bring it back in a staff report, later on, to the board if the board feels at this particular time uncomfortable spending this kind of money. We do have a timeline. We have to be able to approve this before June 30th of this year in order to stay qualified for the buses as well as the charging stations, or else we reapply for the grant next year.
I have another question, please.
Dr. Davis?
Yes, Mr. Weinstein, then I appreciate the work that you've put into this and what you're trying to do. And I do appreciate financially and the sustainability of the electric buses, and all of that part of it is not at all of my concern. In fact, I'm glad we're going in that particular direction. It is just the cost of this project, and also the cost, as you put on your cover page, to be funded by developer fees. And again, as one trustee, my very high sensitivity about the developer fees. We all know that those developer fees could be spent, if necessary, on the construction of the new high school. And we constantly hear from you and staff that we may run into some problems fitting out the new high school according to our original concept and design, because of many reasons, just escalation of costs and those kinds of things. So I just accommodating these recharging stations at somewhere between, and it's vague to me, the 2.4 mentioned on your cover page, and then the page 5, 3 points, that's $1 million of taxpayer money. That's a lot of leeway in there. I would like to have some options, unless you say there were absolutely no options. This is it. This is it. We can't do without it. Then we've got to make up our mind, and I appreciate that point of view as well. But I can't believe that there can't be some other less expensive options and still take advantage of this very nice offer that we have from whatever the funding source is. Is it state or federal? I'm not sure of that.
Mr. Weinstein, I'm sorry. Could I ask a question? For clarification. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask him about, Mr. Weinstein, would it be possible to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and make the infrastructure as part of the infrastructure of the construction of the new high school and have it be there and just be automatically there? Would that be possible? Because we're already going to be doing infrastructure construction there anyway. Can we do it there?
No, we wouldn't be able to do it there because there's a timeline that we cannot receive the buses until the actual charging stations are in. And starting next year, the 2021 school year, we have to start taking buses off the road. So we need those replacement buses one way or another. The issue really becomes, and the reason why we're bringing this, and absolutely we'll bring it back, but just so the board has my train of thought here, is that with all the issues that we're going to have coming forward in the budget, if we buy regular buses and not take advantage of the electric buses, those regular buses come out of the general fund. So those buses do not come out of the infrastructure, buildings, those type of things can be used, RDA fees or developer fees. Buses themselves have to come out of the general fund. So this gives us also an opportunity to use non-general fund funds and be able to replace our buses by going with this electric grant. But we can come back with a tighter presentation as far as the dollars go on what the possibility of the cost is. And the reason there's $1 million issue there is because we don't have an idea of what's under the ground. So in other words, we don't know what the grading will be. We don't know what the demands will be, because really you're just talking about a dirt lot that we're going to be working on, and we have no idea what we're going to run into. And that's why there's this leeway. We don't believe there's anything there, but the architect believes, is looking at worst case scenario. But we can absolutely bring this back, in the next month with a more defined idea of what the cost would be. But if as far as other places to put the charging station, we looked at every single with our consultant from Southern California Edison, and the best fit for having buses, 9 buses coming in and out of a site and actually being parked there is Oxnard Union High School District. Oxnard High School. Oxnard Union High School. So
Karen?
that's why that was chosen.
Yes.
That's all.
Trustee Herrera?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein, I think that I'm going to support the endeavor when the timing is the most appropriate fiscally, and definitely if the Fund 250, if you can show an accounting of how we're going to be spending those funds in 2021, because we all are realizing how fiscally we're all going to have to address some serious things in the coming years. And so for me, I would like to see how we had already earmarked some of the funds in the 250 for other projects and look at the priorities once again in relationship to this project. I understand that it's going to be grant funded and that we're going to be naturally replacing the current buses. And so I understand the need. What I'm confused a little bit about, I thought we had earmarked a lot of those developer fees for use with the new high school. So I just want to revisit that and look at how we were going to be using it and meet the needs of the priorities. So when you bring it back, if you could do an itemized funding list so we can look at what's going to come out of there in 2021 and 21-22.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Weinstein?
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Hall.
I just, first of all, I support Dr. Davis, this idea of bringing back different options. Just in case you haven't thought of this, I'm sure you have. I would like to see the option if we don't do this. Like if we don't do an electric charging station, we don't accept that grant, how much is that going to cost? Because I'm hearing that's going to have a cost of at least $200,000 per bus. So I'd just like to see this option in comparison to that one.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
I have one more comment, please.
Yes, Dr. Davis.
Mr. Weinstein, just for clarification, did you say that the city of Camarillo would not let us use Rancho? And I'm not saying that's a viable option, or that they preferred that we not, or could you elaborate, please?
So the consultant from Southern California Edison went to the roadworks as well as from Camarillo as well as the city, and that they did not, they didn't turn us down, but they told the Southern California Edison they did not support putting a transportation, recharging, and storage center at Rancho Campana. So if the board remembers that when Rancho Campana High School was built, we went into a 10-year agreement to do traffic studies every year and submit them to the city of Camarillo. And so while we're in that zone of traffic studies that we're still supporting, they are concerned about the traffic going in and out of their residential areas. And they feel that this would not be support, that roadworks would not support it, but they did not turn it down. They did not say no. They just said that, you know, they wouldn't be in support of it. So we felt that the best option would be go to Oxnard High School for that, as well as the fact that the charging stations would be placed by the solar panels and actually be directly hooked into the solar panels. So we would be using the solar panels actually to charge the buses.
Appreciate that clarification, and thank you. I would also, though, as you well know, and I live across the street from, anytime you're on Gonzalez Boulevard from 7:30 to 8:30, you might as well forget it. You're not going through that area. So I would like to say there's probably the same sensitivity for some areas of Oxnard as what you just shared with us as far as that particular school.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so there are no further comments? We're going to move on to item SS, which is the consideration of renewal of the MOU with Ventura County Community College District for dual enrollment. And I believe this was Trustee Hall.
Yes, it was me. Can we go down to page 5 and item 6G?
You said 6G?
Yes.
Okay.
So I brought this up last time. I think I'm directing this question to Dr. McCoy or to Dr. De Leon. So it says here that the minimum qualifications of instructors, and these are instructors from the Ventura County Community College District, shall meet the minimum qualifications to provide instruction in California Community College. That's great. Or shall work under the immediate supervision and control of the VCCD employee who has those minimum qualifications. I know last time this came up, I had asked about that and wanted that second part of that removed. Was that discussion had with the college district?
Yes, and we removed every mention that we could find on those areas. This was an oversight. So you could vote to approve this with that language struck.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
The reason I think it's important for us, if we're going to have college classes on our campuses, that we have an instructor who, you know, our students are going to be taking those classes, our high school students will be taking those classes, and that we ensure that we have a college faculty member that meets the qualifications to teach that class. And I think that's important that we have that.
Thank you. So you'll make that amendment, Dr. McCoy, and Trustee Guerra, I see you. But go ahead.
Ready? My question that I had asked, and I don't think I got a response, but maybe it came in today. How come for 5 years is this MOU? Is there a particular time frame you're thinking? It could be a lot of different changes in the next few years for the college district and ourselves. So is there a reason why 5 years?
The 5-year timeline comes from the typical non-CCAP MOU template that's used around the state. So if you would like to alter the timeline, that's something that we could also amend. What I will tell you, and what I had let trustees know the last time we visited this item, is that we don't have the same process in Ventura County as the other counties in California when it comes to the college non-CCAP dual enrollment courses. We typically, not only typically, we've never had an offer from the college for a high school teacher to teach our on-campus course. They always come with a college instructor assigned. So it's really up to trustees whether you'd like to see this annually. If you'd like to see this, the reason for the periodic timeline is that we typically don't interact in HR with the college district in this county. particularly when we work with Oxnard College, which is our primary source of dual enrollment. But you can recommend an amended timeline as well.
So Dr. Hall, since, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Herrera.
No, I will when we make the motion.
Okay. So Dr. Hall, since you pulled it, would you prefer to have them bring it back or with the amended language, or would you like to vote on it with your amendments? You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute. Dr. Hall, you need to unmute yourself.
That's the first time in my life someone's ever asked me to do that.
Whoop, whoop. That's right. Hashtag winning.
Yeah. I guess I'm fine with striking that one sentence that we talked about earlier, but I'd be interested to hear if Trustee Herrera wants to change it to a specific, the term of the agreement to a specific year. I'm hearing lower than 5, but what?
I would, are you asking me the question to respond to?
Herrera, yes.
I just want to make sure I'm following order. I would say that because things are going to be, who knows what we're going to be facing in the next, 2 to 3 years, that I would be more comfortable making it for a 3-year agreement and then revisit, because we don't know right now how things are going to be shaping up for all of us. And so I'd rather just revisit it again, not because I'm hoping and I don't support this. It's just that I would like to just revisit. It just seems like it's such a big commitment for 5 years.
I support that. Trustee Edmonds or Dr. Davis, I can't see you, so what do either of you?
I'm fine with that as well.
Okay.
That's part of the motion. I will support that.
So we're going to amend it to be 3 years.
So
go ahead, Dr. Hall.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve this agreement for a 3-year term, and that the second part of the first sentence in 6G, or shall work under the immediate supervision and control of the Ventura County Community College District employee who has those minimum qualifications, be removed from the agreement, and that approval of the agreement be contingent on the college district agreeing to both of those terms.
Okay, Dr. McCoy, do you have that?
Yep, I have it.
Okay. So did you make the motion then, Dr. Hall?
Yes, I
okay.
did.
Do we have a second?
Yes, I did.
Trustee Herrera, thank you. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say no. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Dr. McCoy. And now we are
On
UU.
We are on action.
UU, which is,
I'm sorry.
consideration of approval of updated work experience education plan, district plan.
Experience.
I had some questions about that. Should I begin?
Yes, please, Dr. Davis.
Okay, thank you. I guess, Dr. McCoy, most of these questions will be given to you because you probably put more attention on this. Just explain to us on the cover page, the fiscal implications, the cost of the teacher at $49,398. I don't understand that figure. What does that mean?
That's a figure for training that's required under the Child Labor Law Act, averaged over the number of work experience teachers in the district. Monica Philippi, our director of career education, is here. Am I spot on there, Monica? Or are there any other details on the $49,000 for training?
There's more details. Hi, hello, everybody. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
There's more details. If you read further, it's for the software that we use for the work permit, the training, the professional development, the mileage for the work site visits, and also the work experience coordinator stipends for 6 comprehensive sites, Rancho and Condor.
And
okay, so this is on top of their base salary. Their salary is paid by unit share. I guess that's my question.
Yes.
Okay, and then supplementing their particular needs is this amount of money?
Yes, from the CTE incentive grant.
Okay, let me go on to the page. It's numbered 5 of the plan itself, where These opportunities of career tech, work experience, general, and exploratory are enumerated. I'm glad that we offer these still to students. I really have lost track over the years what happened to work experience, and it's really timely that this comes to our attention. Under work experience on page 5 of 27, the exploratory work experience, I see that as a really tremendous opportunity for many students. As you know, some of you know, I visit facilities caring for the elderly, and I see their high school students working, volunteering, really not working, but they're volunteering after school. This would be the kind of exploratory work experience, for example, that they could participate in, correct?
Go ahead, Monica.
Correct. So exploratory work experience is a non-paid experience, and the student is able to choose the work site. They would be able to receive 5 non-A to G credits for their work experience time with a minimum requirement of 60 hours at that particular work site. So that is correct. They can use it for nonprofits as well as for-profit.
I find all 3 of these options very great opportunities. My question then, Monica, is how do our students learn about these tremendous opportunities?
There is going to be an extensive amount of training. We have a training coming up with our counselors. Our first step was to update the work experience education plan for our district. We've already provided training to our site principals and administrators, and the next level of training will go out to our counselors.
Very good. That preempts another question I was going to ask about how will counselors know about this, because in the plan itself, it relies a lot about good counseling and an awareness of this opportunity for our students. At the bottom of that page, Monica, the student, this is exploratory work experience. That last sentence, the student may not be a part of exploratory work experience if pay is received for like work at the same workstation. Does that mean that if I'm after school, I work 4 hours? No, I don't work. I'm in an exploratory work experience situation for 4 hours. I can't be paid 2 and get credit for 2. Is that what that means?
Correct. That is to protect the student. We want to make sure that the work site that they're going to be serving at does not use them for free labor.
Yes.
And so that's to work. Exploratory work experience has more restrictions to ensure that the student is learning, observing, and participating at a minimum level. If the student developed a relationship and was then hired, they can utilize the general work experience course.
Okay, thank you for that. Can you tell us, bring us up to date, us trustees, how many work experience teachers do we have? Do we have a full-time at every high school?
It varies by school site. Currently, we have one site that has a full-time teacher, and other sites have 2 to 3 teachers, depending on the need and the demand at the site. So it varies by site.
Okay.
Overall, we have about 9 teachers.
Yeah, and that's not a full 9 FTE. Typically the sites, each teacher, if they have more than one, has 1 section or 2 sections max.
I see. And do our alternative school sites, Frontier, Condor, still have this opportunity?
Absolutely.
At the top of page 7, I totally agree with those first 2 bullet points that some of the many benefits to this program: improved classroom performance by students, greater retention of at-risk students. But I want to bring, that causes me to bring up, because I at one time had a lot to deal with this particular policy, the board policy on student work permits. What I find lacking in this document, and it's glaring to me, is that there is very little mention of our board policy that requires 2.0 GPA for a work permit. It's mentioned for the homeschooling, but it's not mentioned in the plan. Our policy is very clear that students granted work permits must demonstrate or maintain 2.0 grade point average and satisfactory school attendance. And even in the administrative regulations of that policy, which is referenced in the plan, but the 2.0 is never mentioned. I think that's a significant omission. And I'm going to point it out at the top of page 7. I think, from my experience, the reason why there is improved classroom performance and greater retention is because we have that incentive for students, really an expectation that they do maintain a 2.0. Let me point out to you on page 8 on the same subject. On page 8 in the middle, the work experience teacher will do these 3 things. Okay. Never does it say that the work experience teacher is going to monitor that these students maintain a 2.0 GPA. That's got to be in the plan. At the bottom, the work experience program requirements, those 4 at the bottom of page 8 of 27, and it continues on to the next page. Nowhere is the 2.0 mentioned. And that's a requisite to participate in this program.
So we could, Dr. Davis, put in a number 7 and add the GPA requirement into the document at this point if the trustees would consider approving the plan as amended.
Tom, just really, I would like to see this myself. I would like to see it come back under consent with a final version so that I can have some comfort on how it reads, because I have some other areas as well here, if I may.
Okay.
So yes, wherever there is a responsibility of the work experience teacher and the student, I think it needs to be very clear in reference to board policy, and you have a reference here, 5113.2, student work permits. It's very clear there, the expectations of the 2.0. On page 11 of 27, we talk about the teacher. Who evaluates the work experience teachers?
The principal, and that's why the principal or the assistant principal who's running the career education evals, principals and assistant principals have been trained on the updated requirements for the work experience program. We were able to actually complete that before we closed. And principals are also consulting with Monica in terms of the detailed responsibilities. We are, once we're able to achieve approval of the plan, we actually are rebooting the way that we make sure the sites are offering the program in a more prescriptive way. I think we've needed to tighten up work experience, and this plan is setting that foundation.
Yes.
But the principal would still evaluate the teacher or the assistant principal, depending on the year of evaluation and the assignment.
Right. And they know that, or they will know that?
No, they do know that. They've been trained, and then we're going to reiterate with requirements of Monica and Dr. Senesac are working on specific ways that we can account for the number of students in each section, and making sure that the work experience teachers are meeting the requirement of site visits and reporting out on those site visits through the career education department and the principal.
Thank you for that. Would you look at page 12 of 27? Notice again, under the work experience teacher coordinator responsibilities, down to the 5th bullet, authorize work permits and assume responsibility, et cetera, nowhere there is the mention of the 2.0 GPA. It should be there as well. At the bottom, Monica, you mentioned the last bullet on that page. So once again, you said there will be a plan in place to promote the program through students, faculty, employers, parents. That's great. So, you would have our encouragement, I know, to do that as well. Let me continue on the next page, 13 of 27, the first bullet at the top of the page. At potential students. I don't know that term. What's that mean?
That's an updated term. We've been trying to use the term at risk less, and sometimes you'll see this as at promise or at potential, but we'll have to go through the document and make a decision on which term that we're going to use. So
that's the growth mindset model.
Yes.
Yeah, that the CDE has given us advice recently that we should be using a growth mindset term for at risk. So that's one of those.
I like
I
it.
agree with that, and this is taking me off the topic, but while I might agree with the growth mindset, if I'm at potential, that's not at risk to me. I don't find that term satisfactory, but that's just one person's very small opinion. Bottom of page 13, where it says the responsibilities of work experience program, about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets down. Maintain good attendance on the job and in school. Monica, you're pretty close to this issue. Dr. McCoy, you are as well. What is good attendance? What does that mean? In my mind, I'm thinking of truant. That's definitive. Chronic absentee, I know what that means. I don't know what good attendance means.
Okay, we can clarify that.
Okay. Does it fall into one of those categories?
Well, I think not chronically absent would probably be the phrase we were looking for. I think that because we have students that if a parent excuses you twice a month, then you're chronically absent because you're going to be missing the percentage of days. So I think we can work around the chronic absentee definition to try and create more clarity right here.
Okay. I'm looking at my notes, and those were my questions, and I thank you for bearing with me. But for my colleagues, I would really just like to see another version, a cleanup version of this. If it wouldn't be too critical, just to wait until next board meeting or the second one in May, whatever's good for your schedules. But I'd like to see this come back myself rather than taking action tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we're moving on to action. That's right. So we are at Business Services Action A, consideration of adoption of Resolution 20-20, rendering the city's setback requirements inapplicable to the district's real property located at 15 Sternman Street. That's a mouthful.
Mr. Weinstein.
Mr. Weinstein, thank you.
Thank you, President Chair, Board of Trustees, and fellow executive cabinet members and guests. So we are in the process of selling the property, the surplus property, 15 Stearman Street, which is commonly known as the Frontier Gym. Part of the requirements of any type of renovation to a property within Camarillo is that they provide compliance with new regulatory things that the city would want. And one of those regulatory issues is called a setback, where basically from the property lines, the building's actually set back. The problem is that our buyer would like to invest a lot of money into the Frontier Gym in order to bring it up to code in a lot of different ways, but it would be not feasible for him to buy the property, invest the money into the building, and be able to create a setback that is required by the city. One of the workarounds of the setback is if the existing owner of the property is a government agency, and the government agency conducts a resolution that they would like to render the city's setback moot or inapplicable to the building. Currently, it allows the buyer to be grandfathered into that property. So in order for us to help facilitate the sale, it is a recommendation of administration that we adopt this resolution about the city's setback so that the sale can go through. And it is a full price sale. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Herrera. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Edmonds, was that you?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you. We have a first, a second, and a third, Dr. Hall. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Thank you, Trustee Herrera.
He just did not vote. He's excused himself for a second.
Okay, so we have a vote of 4-4 with one abstention. Is Dr.
No, abstention.
Oh, he's just not in the room. I'm sorry. Okay.
You want to revote? He's coming back.
Yes, we'll wait just a minute since we didn't have his vote. Thank you, Trustee Herrera.
Oh, there he is. Oh, he's back.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Dr. Davis. I wasn't aware that you left the room. I'm
I was
sorry.
checking for cookies, but they didn't.
I know. I'm
never going to live it down.
Oh, no.
I support this if there's a motion on the floor.
There is. We have a first and a second, Dr. Davis, so we're voting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. Moving on to action item B. This is also Mr. Weinstein. Consideration of approval of submission of California COVID-19 FEMA Federal Disaster Assistance.
Can I just motion for approval unless anyone has a question?
No, that's
Second.
fine. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you. And moving on to action item C, which is the consideration of approval of purchase sale agreement for surplus property located at 527-531 Wainimi Road. This is Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, President Chair, trustees, cabinet, and guests. We have an offer on the Wainimi property that is a surplus property that we've had up for sale for over 18 months. It is an all-cash deal with a $20,000 deposit from the buyer with a 45-day close, no contingencies on the close, and has waived appraisal. And the offer is for $825,000, which is $70,000 below the list price that we've had the property up for.
Mr. Weinstein, I have a
Dr.
question.
Hall, yes.
So how long has the property been for sale and how many offers have we received?
It's been for a little over 16 months and we've received 0 offers that came this. We've had interest from only one other person that's actually viewed the property, and that was the Railroad Association, where they wrote a letter saying that they may be interested, but we received no offer from them. This is the only actual purchase agreement or actual written offer of purchase for the property since we've had it listed.
Okay.
And it's an all-cash offer, Mr. Weinstein, just.
Yeah, all cash offer. So they waive the appraisal on an all cash offer because there's no loan they have to qualify for. And it is an as-is sale. They've already done their inspection. So there's no inspection that it's contingent on. They waive all contingencies for the purchase. And so it's $825,000 for the $895 list price, which is about 92% of the list price with a $20,000 deposit, 45-day close.
I'm going to move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
Okay.
That's great news.
Me.
And letter D, consideration of adoption of resolution 20-23 to utilize CMAS piggyback contract number 3 to purchase Chromebooks.
I missed
This
one,
is-
sorry.
This is to approve the Chromebooks. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Edmonds. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Thank you. Motion passes. Now, Dr. De Leon, Superintendent of Schools.
This next motion is a motion to approve the election for 2 of our board members on November 3rd of 2020. And we have to pass a resolution to have the election.
Move to approve.
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. All right. Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. De Leon. Letter F.
We did
that. That was for grading. We did that.
And
all right. So
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
now we have staff reports, Measure A project update.
Yes. Mr. Weinstein.
Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, President Chair. We have in your board packet, you have the presentation for the Measure A project updates. This is really just an enhanced update compared to what we send out on a Friday, every other Friday now. So Tom will be the excellent Vanna White and move it forward. So I'm just going to hit the main highlights of some of the things happening at each of the sites that I think are worth mentioning as we kind of go through everything. So the lobby renovation at all sites, including Adolfo Camarillo, is well underway. We've hit some bumps in the road almost at every single site. Adolfo Camarillo site, they redid the plans. I think everybody remembers that it was delayed, but those new plan designs have been approved and construction now is going full force and will be done within the next 45 days. There's a new marquee, something that is new. So the marquee sign outside of the entrance of that's on the side of the hill of Adolfo Camarillo kind of died, blew up. We went and we brought in to fix it, and it actually cost more money to fix than it would to actually put a new marquee sign in. So we're going to not only put a new marquee sign in, but we're going to go through the sight lines of where it's located and make sure that it's in a great position for all motorists to see and people in that area, so it's not blocked by any trees, and make it nice and pretty. Some of the other great things that are going on is the field and stadium construction will be completed by May 31st. This is the first phase of the field construction. The second phase, which involves a new snack shack, announcer booth, weight room, the entry. We have to put a new septic system for the bathrooms, and the visitors bleachers will start in June. Stadium lighting will be done by May 31st. That's just changing out the lights, not the actual poles. So that's going very well. And HVAC, we have our relocatables are starting to be installed for being able to start our HVAC. HVAC approval is expected to come back in May. We've got tentative approval already with just a couple of questions before they can fully approve it. But when we asked, they said that they for sure that we will have the DSA approval by May. So once we have the HVAC plans and the relocatables installed, we'll be able to go out for bid and start the HVAC upgrades. And some of the questions, and this applies to all high schools, that I get with the HVAC is when we install the HVAC, and I see Dr. When we install the HVAC, that's going to be HVAC, new windows, window coverings, and some adjustments within the classroom. The actual modernization of the classroom that involves the technology and some of the new flooring and painting and those type of things will happen once the HVAC is installed, because we don't want to do it until the HVAC in the entire building is completely installed. We'll go in and then do the modernization. And there's a question. Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question. This is a question I'm going to ask. Can you scroll back to the Cam Heights slide real quick? And this is a question I'll have for all the schools. So if you can address it as we go along. Is there something we can do with any of these projects? And I'm thinking the HVAC, since there's no school in session now and summer, is there something we can do to expedite the installation while students aren't on campus? I mean, like, even if it were to cost a little more money, like for overtime or something, it just seems like it'd be so much faster to get it done when people aren't on campus.
Yes, and we are actually moving faster on just about every construction project. But so Adolfo Camarillo is actually one of the on the comprehensive, the big comprehensive high schools, one of the shorter windows to put HVAC in, and it's a 30-month installation. So they'll be in construction for 30 months. There'll be 4-year constructions in the 2-story building for Pacifica and Oxnard High School. So that's just because now Adolfo Camarillo would actually go a little faster if we could. Unfortunately, we do not have the ability to put enough relocatables. DSA will not allow us to put too many more relocatables in order to be able to do multiple buildings at a time. So we have to do one building at a time. So, but yes, we are trying to get some of the HVAC started this summer, but it all is dependent. We can do that once we get the DSA back in May, go out for bid on some of the other modifications like the utility upgrades, finishing those and different things, and then start getting the HVAC installed as soon as possible.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, even if there's no students on campus, nobody's on campus, it still would take that time frame to install the HVAC windows?
Yeah, if it comes out that we're going to be back on campus in August, then we wouldn't be able to, each building takes about 90 days. We probably could get one building done during the summer, because we can work late at night, overtime throughout the day, but we wouldn't be able to get multiple buildings done. So it may help us by 3 months, but that would be about it. But we're going to try. We're going to do our best. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Herrera, did you have a question, ma'am?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. So Channel Islands. So Channel Islands is doing really well. So what the big thing that we've accomplished in Channel Islands is we have got the location of the pool approved by DSA, and the actual pool design is being submitted, which will be submitted to the board. We've approved it at the admin level. We're waiting for the final design pictures, and that will be presented to the board in May, what the pools will actually look like, the pool at Channel Islands will actually look like. We're also moving the tennis courts a little bit farther into the field area, and the field and the stadium design is already out for bid, which means that they will actually start the stadium and field at Channel Islands. The three Channel Islands, Rio Mesa, and Oxnard will actually start on time right after July 4th. And of course, one of the big things that we finally accomplished and got done with in Channel Islands is all the roofing repair on the second-story buildings. If you remember, all the trestles within those second stories were at risk, and then we had to put supporting beams up, temporary beams up, while the students were there because we couldn't do any of a lot of the roofing repair. Well, because of the fact that no students were there, we were actually able to go in on bring in a huge crew and finish all the roofing repairs to the second story buildings. So all the roofing repairs have been accomplished at Channel Islands High School 100% and approved by DSA for occupancy. So we're very happy about that. HVAC plans have been submitted, and we're moving very quickly with that.
It's very exciting news about CI.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Del Sol, as you well know, everything that's going on in Del Sol. So we are expecting the DSA approval for late May, early June. Coming on the May 13th board meeting, we'll be bringing the options of construction of the high school. The phase 1 of the high school that we would like to start this summer, whatever option that is chosen by the board, is moving dirt, which is really exciting. I know. We are currently.
That is exciting.
Hey, we're currently finding soil. We have located 5 different places for soil. A couple of them are in our catch basins. We are in the process of testing that soil. So the soil, whether it's on our property or not, has to be tested in order to bring it to the new construction site. So right now, Tetra Tech, who did all of our testing of all our soils, is testing those soils and submitting that to the DSA for approval. Once DSA approves the soil, which will not take long, we can then use that soil and bring it to the new site. And that's kind of when grading begins. So we're very excited about that. Once the trucks start moving, everybody gets excited about that. Frontier High School. So we've redone all the roofs, all the gutters. So the roof replacement and gutter replacement has been completed. Painting is continually going on as we touch up, and we've repainted a couple of buildings because the shade did not turn out well on a couple of buildings, but that's really going well. We've started our master site design, which is basically looking at the future for Frontier, where we'll be moving the MOT workshops and looking at constructing a 2-story building, and that's way in the future, not current. But we are right now working on classroom flooring, lighting, and paint, and that's all going out for bid. So that will actually be started underway very shortly. The other thing that will eventually be done is we will put a shade structure in at Frontier High School. But if you drive by, you will see all the painting and new windows and everything. It looks really good.
I saw it. It looks beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, so they did a good job. Yeah, so we're real excited about that. Hueneme High School, everything is on schedule with the field, which is great. Phase 2 of the field will have do with their bleachers. That's home bleachers for Hueneme. And that is the field entry, restroom, snack bar in phase 2 also. Our fencing plans are at DSA for all of our schools. I did not mention that. And our lobby renovation is under construction. And we have been working on our gym and our pool with new scoreboards. And in all of the gyms, you've been approving this, but just so you know, all the gyms, the arms that bring the backboards out, all of those were not in compliance, and DSA has us replacing all of those. They were not safe, and they needed to be replaced in all gyms. So that's some of the things that we're doing, as well as replacing the scoreboard in the gyms and the scoreboards at all the pools. Rio Mesa has already been done. Oxnard has been done. Hueneme is in the process of being done at the pool. So there you go. And then, of course, HVAC, we're in the same position with HVAC at Wainimi that we are in at Channel Islands. They'll be done at the same time. Next slide. Oxnard High School, we are happy to report that the first occupancy inspection by DSA of the swimming pool was done this morning, and it was completed, and it got flying colors. So there's just a few more things on the punch list. So when we do those first initial inspections, they give us a punch list, but it's been approved, and we just have some things on the punch list that need to be done. And then the pool will be 100% done and ready for occupancy when we can start using it again. And as we put in some of the consent items, we're also working on replacing some of the lockers at the Oxnard pool facility and putting in, removing all the carpet because, to be honest, it's kind of gross. And we're putting in linoleum floors rather than having carpet floors in the pool facility itself.
Thank you. That's really got that room there.
Yeah, well, we won't go there. Anyway, so so Oxnard High School and Pacifica High School, their HVAC is being submitted to DSA right now, which is actually a little bit quicker than we thought, but using WLC because they were the ones that originally helped us with these high schools. WLC has submitted their HVAC installation plans to DSA, so we're real happy about that. Relocatables have arrived at Oxnard as well as Pacifica, so we're getting ready to go there. And both Oxnard and Pacifica gets 10 relocatables.
Great.
Yay.
Pacifica High School, their field is also on schedule. So all the fields currently are on schedule to be done in May, which would have been little sad, which would have been ready for our graduations.
We actually would have been ready for all of that.
We would have been ready for our graduations. So
well, thank you, Mr. Weinstein. And
but I think it was real important to put that because I wanted the, and we'll make a big deal of it. We really want to make sure that the community knows that we were ready and that we met what we promised. And so that's something that we really wanted to do.
Absolutely. Is somebody calling me? Because I'm sorry, I can't see everybody. Did somebody have a question? No. Okay.
One of the things I wanted to mention at Pacifica High School, we are doing the pool design, but we are not doing the pool construction until we get our matching funds for Pacifica High School back from the state. But because they're going to have the exact same pool design as Channel Islands, we're taking this opportunity to also have them duplicate their efforts at a very low cost to get the pool approved through DSA now, so that when we do get those funds back, we will be able to build the pool without having to. We'll be right on time to build the pool without having to design it. So next slide. And they are also being done by WLC, and they have 8 relocatables installed already, and they have 4 more coming. 2 will be permanent, and 2 will be just relocatables for being temporary space where kids will be going while we do the HVAC construction. Next slide. Rancho Campana High School, they will be the first to get their air conditioner. Their plans have been approved for air conditioning, and their HVAC plans actually are out for bid right now. So we are bidding the job to install HVAC into Rancho Campana. We have 8 relocatables that will temporary relocatables for classrooms, for kids moving out of classrooms. So we have that ordered already, and those will be installed shortly. And then we'll be ready to go with that HVAC. And then Rio Mesa High School. So along with their field, just so that everybody's on the same page, we've been working on their pool right now. And so their pool is 100%. All the fencing around the pool has been completed. We've done some upgrades to their to the actual deck of their pool a little bit, where we've had some chips and things going on, and we've replaced their scoreboard. And it looks real nice. So that's going on. We're having the big challenge right now that we have at Rio Mesa for HVAC and as well as everything else that's going on there is that we do not have enough water going to the school currently. So we built a new well, and we are in the final stages of design for the pumps that will be attached to those wells that will pump the new water flow into the high school. It needs to be measured, and once it's measured and approved, then DSA will give us the approval for the HVAC and the relocatables to be installed. So both the relocatable plans have been sent back to us because the water flow did not meet the minimum criteria. Once those pump plans are completed and we start building those pumps, we've already sent the pump plans to DSA to make sure that they'll work. And once that water flow goes in and we measure it to make sure that it meets the flow that DSA needs, we'll be able to install the relocatables and start on the HVAC for Rancho Rio Mesa High School. So that was the big hurdle, and we finally got over it. But it took a while to get the new pump system designed so it met all the new specs. So we're very happy about that. And Paul did a great job working with 2 different engineers on that to get it installed. So that's really good. And I think that's it.
All right.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
And many thanks to his entire team, especially Paul Hansen and Josh Brown, who are.
And those of you who would like to come, we have a new board game in my office called Monopoly. That is literally the Measure A Monopoly game that Paul and his wife built. And it's kind of awesome. You have to stop by and look at it.
Right.
We're going to get there one way or another.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So we're ready to move on, everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. To board report and communications. So we'll go around the room. I see Dr. Hall in front of me. So anything to report?
Do I see a superintendent search update on our committee?
I was going to wait until after everybody had done theirs, or I can go first. What would you prefer?
Oh, board report and communications. I see.
Yes.
Okay. All right. First of all, I'm so happy to see the progress on Measure A. And I'm really pleased to see a swimming pool coming to Channel Islands High School. Many years ago, the college district passed a bond in 2000 or 2002, and on the wish list was a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And they didn't deliver on it. And so I'm happy that our bond is going to deliver a swimming pool to Channel Islands and to that area of Oxnard. It's a long time coming. It's going to be a huge benefit to the community. So I'm really happy about that. I also wanted to say, I should have led with this, but I want to tell everybody in this room, I know it's late. I miss you guys. I miss seeing you. I haven't since this whole madness started with the COVID-19. So I really miss you guys. And I'm sure you don't want to hear that at 9:30 at night when you want to go home, but I just want to.
I am home.
Feeling was quite mutual, Dr. Hall.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I noticed it went real quiet when I said that. My last thing I wanted to say is I participated in the last couple days in Zoom interviews for a teaching position at Oxnard College. I was a panelist, not a applicant, okay? And it really worked. I was really concerned about whether you'd be able to really get to know the candidate or really have a feel for who they were, their personalities, their passions. And I was, it exceeded all expectations. So I'm really okay with doing, I know it's gonna come up, you're gonna talk about it, President Chair, but I'm really okay with the Zoom interview process. The teaching demos went fine, and we were really able to get a lot out of the candidates. So I think it would work for a superintendent's interviews. That's my report.
Thank you. Dr. Davis.
No report, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Edmonds?
Yes. I thought our virtual or remote meeting went well. I would never require any trustee to attend the meeting in person. And I would never ask anyone to put their health and safety at risk or their families. We have to keep trying to find things that work, and I thought it worked out well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Herrera?
Yes, I have a couple of things. One is an incredible applause to all of our faculty and staff every day trying to make the best out of this COVID situation. And I'm always very grateful when students and share their experiences that has been a positive one of trying to be supported through the process, because we're all dealing with a lot of stress. Our faculty, our staff, our district office, everyone is dealing with the stress of the situation. It's not just about what's happening within our educational setting, but also in our home life. So it's very exciting to me when I hear the students really talk about and share their positive experiences. Right now is the season where all new freshmen are coming to the colleges. So we get to hear a lot of different stories and experiences. And with that comes also information that I want to share with all of the executive team here tonight and the public, that I am hearing you loud and clear. So I am sharing your concerns tonight about the information when you call our campuses and the district office, how quickly you will be responded to. So I'm going to ask staff today that if it's possible to share what is the process for communicating with the campuses, not just emailing the principal, but noting on their website, this is how you will be contacted if you call this office. Right now, it's the transcript season. A lot of parents, students asking for transcripts. They're not getting callbacks in the manner that they feel they should be. But personally, I don't know what that process is. How often do they check the messages? How often do they call them back? It's very important to communicate that as simply as possible on the websites. I personally have called 4 different high schools in the last 2 days and the district office, and that was a different experience because it basically says we will check messages periodically. I don't know what that means. Is it every hour? Is it every half hour? Is it all day long? And so anything that I could do to make sure that the parents and the students get that information or access someone would be really helpful. I know the superintendent has been made aware of this. Today we talked a little bit and yesterday as well, and I know she has a plan to address it, but I do feel that in the last week or so, those calls are coming in to me with concerns about that. So anything the staff can do to alleviate that, that would be really helpful. The last item is, as a communication, is I am very concerned about what's going to happen in the fall. Are we going to be ready for the fall if things continue in the way that it is now? You know, what would be our plan then? And I would really like us to kind of look at that possibility. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll all be back in our, in classrooms and seeing our students every day face to face. But what would be our plan and what would that look like? And so I guess for items for future consideration, that would be one of my requests. And then I have another item when we get to items for future consideration. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm just writing something down before I forget. Okay, so I think for my board report and communication, before I give the superintendent search status report, there are just a few things that I would like to mention. There's been a lot of talk about Governor Newsom's comments with regard to opening school early, possibly. I think it's important to remind the public that school calendars are negotiated items. And we have negotiated calendars for the next 2 years, I believe, Dr. DeLeon. Am I correct about that? 2 years?
Yes.
Okay. So
next year.
For next year and the following year, or for it was this year and next year?
I think it's just the following year.
The following year. Okay. So we already have a negotiated calendar for the next school year, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so I just want to reassure the public that that's already it's already in writing.
But trustee share real quick.
Yes.
But that could change if a law was passed that mandated us to change our calendar. Our contract can't supersede the law, right?
Correct.
So just FYI, there is, depending on what the legislature does, there is no guarantee that that calendar would be in effect.
As of current status,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
That is current status. If something changes, something changes. But right now, calendars are negotiated items, and we have a calendar in place for next school year.
Correct.
Okay. Also, I actually would like to compliment the district office faculty, staff, everybody who's in the offices answering phone calls. As board president, I have received 0 complaints about lag time or anything with regard to that. So I just wanted to make that clear that how appreciative I am of Superintendent De Leon and your staff. No news is good news. I haven't received any complaints, and I think that is a compliment to you and your staff. So thank you for that. And then also, I want to, not that Superintendent Thurmond is watching, but if you are, State Superintendent Tony Thurmond or anybody in your office, I think the question of funding with regard to meals, I think that there's going to be a lag time, if I'm not mistaken, between the end of the school year and the beginning of summer school with regard to funding for meals. Am I correct about that, Dr. De Leon?
Correct. There's about a little over a 2-week period of time where they have stated that they wouldn't normally fund us for meals, and so they will not be reimbursing us for meals. And I've expressed a great deal of concern over that, and I will be potentially even writing a letter because, as you know, the economic situation is becoming it's worsening for many, many people. And we'll have more people homeless, more people with food insecurity by mid-June than we do now.
So I think that's important for the other trustees, if you weren't aware, because I wasn't aware of that there is this 2-week lag time. And so if all of us are writing our legislators and the state superintendent and anyone who has anything to do with that, I think the more of us that are writing about that, the better, in case you weren't aware.
Yeah, we were just notified that we will not be reimbursed for that 2-week intercession between the end of school and the first day of summer school.
So we really need to be proactive about that.
That means no feeding. And if you remember this year during COVID, we fed during spring break, which we normally didn't. And we did end up getting reimbursed because we had to, because our kids will go hungry. And so we're really just concerned about that 2-week period of time to suddenly stop feeding. We are increasing the number of meals.
Not decreasing.
Right. Every single week, exponentially, not decreasing, which means more and more people need food. And it's not going to get better by June 16th. It's going to be worse. So I am exceptionally concerned about that news. And I told Mr. Weinstein that today, and I will be following up on that because I can't believe that. I just can't.
Okay. Well, if all the trustees aren't aware of that, then that's an important thing for everyone to keep in mind. And then lastly is our superintendent search status report. So on April 2nd, and I'm reading from the administrative page, on April 2nd, Superintendent De Leon announced her resignation from the Oxnard Union High School District to accept a position of superintendent with Glendora Unified School District. Congratulations, Dr. De Leon.
Thank you.
The Board of Education held a special board meeting on April 9th, 2020 to discuss the search for the next superintendent. And during that meeting, the Board of Education selected the search firm McPherson and Jacobs to conduct the search and reviewed the search process and a potential timeline for that process, which was presented by Trustee Davis. So thank you again for that, Trustee Davis.
Welcome.
And Superintendent De Leon immediately contacted the search consultant, Ben Johnson, and began the process of reviewing the position profile, the community survey, and the search process, the search timeline, and the official brochure. So tonight I'm giving just a brief update. Some documents have been attached to this agenda item. So if anyone needs to go back and refer to them, if the public would like to go back and refer to the dates or any of the details in the position description, they are attached to the item. I'm not going to read every single one of those things, but they're up on the screen now and anyone can access them. So Dr. Davis and I worked with Dr. De Leon and Ben Johnson to refine the position description. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Your eyes are incredible. You catch every last little thing, and I so appreciate that.
Yes, he does.
He really, really does. I mean, I told him when I write my book, I'm calling him. He's my editor. He already has the job. So do any of the trustees have questions about the job or the position description in itself? Okay. So at the end of that position description is a search timeline. So you're looking at that now, and those dates now have been made public and have been posted in several publications. But just for the public, I'm going to read just this part of the search timeline. So the closing date for applications will be May 17th, 2020 at 11:30 p.m. Central Time. The school board will select the finalists to interview on June 1st, 2020. The finalists will be interviewed by the Board of Trustees on June 13th, 2020. The selection of the new superintendent will be made on June 24th at our board meeting. Tentatively, that's our plan, June 24th, 2020, and with an official start date of the new superintendent of July 1st, 2020.
And I think it needs to be noted that the community panel is in between there.
Oh, yes, that's right. And we added that.
And it should have been an added bullet, but it's under June. It's on June 6th, Saturday,
June 6th. That's correct. So the community panel, thank you, Dr. De Leon. It is in the calendar that is on the next page, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Trustee Scherer, the calendar, that document is correct. The previous document that you were referring to was a former issue. Those dates aren't correct on what you covered there.
Oh, that's right, because we're at June 3rd, right? So this is not the updated version.
Well,
I'm sorry, I probably put the wrong one. There's been 18 of them.
There have been about 18 of them, so there have been. So let's go through these dates one more time. Dr. Davis, would you do that, please?
Well, at least for the calendar, because it does affect obviously our trustees' personal calendars, and we want to make sure that all the trustees are in agreement.
Yes.
Yes, if I may, the application deadline is Sunday, May 17th. We agree, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Then
yes.
McPherson firm paper screens for 2 weeks up to May 27th, and then gives us a report on that May 27th, and that is a regular board meeting. Okay? Paper screening continues then through, and now notice, trustees, Wednesday, June 3rd.
June 3rd, yes.
This calls for a special board meeting. And I know that our preference is minimize special board meetings, but there are two that this calendar calls for. And Sharon and I want to make sure that you know this and that you're comfortable with this. The way the calendar then would be June 3rd would be a special board meeting, and our purpose then would be to take the paper screening results and to decide which applicants of the original pool of applicants, according to paper screening, should be interviewed. Interviewed when? Look ahead to Saturday, June 6th. Now that doesn't involve us, but that would be the date of the first interview by our so-called ad hoc community stakeholder panel. And we'll get to that in just a moment, but that would be that date. Then they have interviewed. They don't screen out, they interview, and we can go into more detail about the outcome at another time. Notice that our regular board meeting of June 10th, we will review the input from the previous Saturday's stakeholder interview. That's our regular board meeting. Then we decide that night in closed session which of the applicants we as trustees would interview the following Saturday, which would be 2 points here. It's a Saturday and it's a special board meeting for the first interview by the trustees. And
right.
then,
I did email these dates to the board, so yes, yes.
So I think that isn't that true, Karen, that this is what we really want to see. Is there comfort then, the 2 special board meetings and the one being on a Saturday as well?
Well, on the 10th, we have a scheduled conference with Ben at 4 o'clock to review the applicants. So I think that's really important.
And that's a regular board meeting anyway.
On June 10th, yes.
It's the 3rd is a special board meeting.
The 3rd, correct.
And the 13th.
Correct. Well, the 13th, I mean, we have to interview
Yes.
at some point, and we wouldn't want to do it during a weekday because some people are working. So a Saturday seems to be the option, and so the 13th would be a special board meeting so that we can interview applicants.
So that's the calendar as we know it. And I think, Madam President, and I would, do you have any input, any concerns, or is this what we'll go ahead with then?
Yes, are there any questions, comments? I can't see everybody, so Dr. Hall, is that you?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, please.
I can do the dates. That's not a problem for me. I have a question about the paper screening, and then I want to stick on the dates. 13th. I'm not working that week. I'm off on summer break that week. So if we wanted to do something during the week, I'm available. I don't know about everyone else. I'm just saying that if you were doing that for me, school's not in session for us. So that's just.
The 13th, is that what you're referring to?
I can do the 13th.
Okay.
If you were scheduling that for me because you thought I was working, I could do it the 12th or the 11th. That's fine. But if other people are working, I'm fine with the 13th. I just wanted to
I think it was really the people who might be interviewing possibly could be working during the week. So it's more important for them, right?
No problem.
Okay. Thank you, though.
Sure. You're saying paper screen the applicants, that McPherson's going to paper screen the applicants, but we're going to have the opportunity to review the applicants as well, correct?
Yes.
The applications and the cover letters and all that stuff.
That's what occurs on June 3rd.
Correct.
Okay, we're going to be, okay. But we'll have access to them before June 3rd so we can review.
Well, we need to know that if you feel that we trustees want to have some documents, maybe all of the applications before June 3rd, then we need to make that clear. That's probably not clear to him at this
Correct.
stage. Yes.
Correct.
I don't feel speaking as one trustee, I don't feel comfortable having a search firm screen the applicants. And we don't have a say on who we're going to interview. That seems weird to me.
Nope.
I would be fine with them if they want to recommend something, but we have access to all of them so we can go through and review. But I don't feel comfortable delegating that. I think that's really our responsibility.
Yeah, and I think that should not be a problem at all, because between the 3rd and the 10th is really when trustees, I would imagine, would be reviewing those.
Okay.
Those applications, so that when we do have a conference with Ben at 4:00 on the 10th, that we give him our recommendations for who we would like to interview.
But the 10th is after the 6th.
Right.
But the 6th are the interviews by the ad hoc committee.
But then we have to have a list of people we want them to interview on the 3rd.
Steve, I think you're asking for that the trustees would have a complete application package going back to May 17th. If there are, let's say, 25 applicants, we want to have a look at those 25 applicants, and that the firm would not have screened out any of those at that time.
That would be on the 27th, where it says paper screen applicants at a regular board meeting.
Can you go up to May? I don't see the May.
Go up to May. Yep, to the 27th, where it says paper screen applicants, regular board meeting, back to progress report to trustees. So
they after you guys tell them, after you go through your paper screening on the 27th, then they take a couple days to then reference check and go back and make sure that the people you're selecting to move forward are good.
Yes.
So we need to make it clear to Ben that we want all of the applicants, like a package, so to speak, by the 27th.
27th, yes.
Okay, all right.
I don't think that's clear to him at this time.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not communicating right. I want to see him the 18th, so I have time to review before the 27th.
Because I would like to, on the 27th, have a discussion
about them.
We reviewed.
Well, but the application deadline isn't until the 17th, so how could we have them on the? I don't.
It will take them a few days to get the packets together. I can tell you that. They won't have them the next day. You could ask for them to have them bought to you by the 20th, which gives you a full week.
A full week?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So we
All
want
documents. You're asking all the documents.
Full documents, all documents by the 20th.
Assuming they're being submitted electronically, that's my assumption.
Yes,
I'm sure they have a mechanism to allow electronic access to them.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I'd like to see their recommendations as well, but I'd like to be able to review the documents and see them for myself, what they plan to offer, who they are.
Yes.
Okay. So besides that, is there anything else that jumps out at you for dates or information that you would like or anything like that? Anybody?
So can we just have the dates confirmed and the times for everything? If there's areas here that were not revised yet?
It's just the wrong copy, and I do apologize for that. It's the wrong copy of the.
I attached the wrong one. I thought I had the last one.
There really were about 18 of them. So yes, we will get that last part corrected.
Yeah, with the times. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Is there anything else?
Karen, I think we wanted also input on the interview panel representing the community and the stakeholders.
Yes, and actually before we move on, I just want to confirm with everyone that you were sent a link to the questions for trustees.
Mm-hmm.
Could I just get confirmation? I see B, and I know Dr. Davis has. Dr. Hall and Mr. Edmonds, have you received a link for your survey for trustees?
Not that I recall. Was it sent to?
No, I think it was sent a day or two ago. I confirm. I actually sent an email asking them to confirm that it was sent to all the trustees, and they said yes, but I will ask again.
Who was it sent from?
From McPherson. Want somebody at McPherson, and it's a link to a Survey Monkey about what kind of questions we would like to have asked.
I do not recall receiving that email.
Okay, I'll make sure you get.
Dr. Hall, it would likely be from M&J Secretary is the name of the, so. That's
Okay,
the name that's where the email comes from.
Check my spam and see if it went there.
Okay. Check your book. Yeah.
M&J Secretary. Because I did get asked and they said they sent it to each of us, so. And then, yes, we would do definitely want input on the search committee.
The community committee.
Yes.
What was the committee we had last time?
The one that you're looking at, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Davis gave us an initial one by his memory, and then because I was in on it, I added all the people that I knew were in on it, and that was confirmed because I found an old document from the previous secretary. So these are the representatives that were on there.
But we updated it.
But we did add extra principals than before, I think. We didn't have that many principals. I think we had one or two on the last one. This one's a little bit more principals.
This does not look familiar to me. We spelled out the committee composition in the board policy and administrative procedure for hiring a superintendent.
We looked at this last time at the last meeting.
No, I had asked at the last meeting that we review the previous, our current board policy on hiring a superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
It lists the positions that we used last time, the committee membership. I remember we spent a lot of time on it. But as we're talking, let me go look at it. Let me see if I can find it. Although I think Gary has the board policies memorized. Do you know where I should look, Gary? I'll look while we're talking.
And also, because we have a lot of time on this particular step, we don't need to decide tonight. We want to show you our best thinking as it stands. But this panel, again, doesn't convene until June. So we can bring these topics back at future May meetings as well. But we want to give an indication of what we might be looking at. Also, Madam President, I think at the next board meeting, we might want to share some of our thinking about how we might orchestrate this large of a group under all of the precautions that we're all taking.
Yes. Yes.
It's too late tonight to do that, but we can plan on that for our next meeting.
I think that would be fine. Yes. I don't think we have any real details to present at this time. So
I did receive an email, maybe others did as well, asking under the community column if we might have a representative from our district, the ELAC.
yes, I received.
I know we had parents on the committee last time.
Well, they are across the
They
top.
are on there.
Where are they?
See the
PNT
legend?
across the top. PNT
Parent, yeah, is across the top.
across the top under each
Can you
side.
can you scroll down? Can you
Okay.
scroll down a little bit so he can see the? Yeah, there you go. The key.
I was just reading this column here, the community column. I didn't realize that all these people were part of it too. So I was like, where's the parents?
Yeah. And
okay.
teachers, right? So you see the parents and teachers and principals.
School
So
of
a board from every school, a teacher from every school. Okay. Okay, let me review this then. That looks more familiar than
Yeah.
so it's all those people and the community groups?
Yes.
I
Okay.
can tell you the difference is the increase in the principals, increase in parents, and increase in teachers on this panel.
I think that's the only change.
I didn't have many.
So why don't we bring this page back again next board meeting as well?
Okay. So if everyone could take a look at that and make some notes and bring them back to the next meeting so we can finalize that.
Will do.
Okay. And I think that's it. If there are no other questions about the superintendent search. And again, I can't see everyone, so if anyone has a question. Okay, so then we are moving on to items for future consideration.
Let me get my notes.
Karen, I have some observations to make when it's the appropriate time.
Please do.
Okay. At our board meeting of March 11th, we had an item that we discussed and set aside, and that pertained to the SRO at Rancho Campana. We've never done anything more with that. I don't know if we want to bring that back. And Dr. De Leon, do you want that brought back, or is it understudy, or should we set it aside, or what?
I think I actually asked to wait on that so we could maybe have a conversation with Camarillo City Council. We could put it back on the agenda.
I would just try to trace back some of my notes, and I'm not asking any urgency. If you say just set it aside until there are a lot of things that we have on the table besides that right now.
Yeah, I think that maybe some of the newer city council members aren't really aware of the inner workings of that particular issue. And so before we voted on it, I thought it might be worth having a conversation, but there's so much going on. It's been a little bit difficult to do that.
Okay. I would also observe on February 12th, Dr. McCoy, you presented a very thorough operation plan for summer school. I don't know if it was a staff report or action, but at any rate, because of the changes, because of summer school, the way it looks now, I think the board would appreciate an update and modification of the operations of summer school 2020 under the times that we're in. Maybe you could put that together either May 13th or 27th for us.
Yeah, I could, or I could do it in a Friday update. The only change we've made is that all the classes will be distance learning. Other than that, everything that was in the report will still
we had a lot of personnel positions for summer school that I don't know that would be needed, but I'm getting into an area that is more discussion. That's what I was concerned about as I reviewed that. That's what I was looking at.
Okay.
On March 12th, Dr. Hull, you had requested the board to bring back how the district is going to support students under the new graduation requirements, especially with the A through G requirements. I don't know if we've had that discussion.
We haven't. I'm okay with just everything that's going on. We don't have to have the discussion right now. Let's deal with this crisis we're dealing with, and then maybe that's something first we can start in the fall, something like that.
Okay. You keep it on the fall, then move that down to the fall.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, didn't want to lose track of it.
I thought that we did.
And then Mr. Weinstein, when will we have a construction timeline for Del Sol before we go dark for the summer?
So the first step of the construction's timeline will be worked on the 13th with the board when I bring the choices of how we can fund and phase in combination of both the high school. Once we have that, then we actually can work on a timeline for construction. Until we know how we will build the high school, we really can't create any timeline. So once we come to some sort of a directive from the board on the 13th coming up, we'll be able to give you a much better timeline.
Okay, so we should add then on May 13th, Dr. De Leon and Ms. Diaz, on May 13th, we'll have not only the Del Sol High School construction financing plan, but the consideration of construction timeline. Both of those can be wrapped in one report, right?
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Weinstein, on May 27th, we have a budget public hearing. Then June 10th, the approval of the first meeting coming to us. And then June 24th, the second meeting of the budget. It would seem to me that trustees should have the first approval preceding the public input. We're asking the public to give input on something that we trustees haven't seen yet in the order that you have them. I would think that the first meeting of the budget would be May 27th, June with the public, and then June 24th, our final approval. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, and I don't disagree with you, sir. The May 13th, we have a budget session, study session with the board. So that will be the first time you will see the budget for next year. And that's why I put it in that order. So,
okay, I didn't know that firmed up enough to show to the public, but perhaps it will be. So I see what you're saying.
So, but we can on the 13th, if you feel that the board should have a more defined budget look before the public hearing, we can switch it around on the 13th, if you want to do it that way.
Well, trustees, there was, I think, 2 trustees that had asked to have specifically a study session on the budget before we really move into it. So I really feel like that should be first.
Yeah. Hence the 13th.
Right.
And then according to what we just discussed regarding the superintendent search and selection, we need to add June 3rd, a special board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, we do need to add a June 3rd.
Dr. De Leon, sometime before we go dark, looking again back to my notes, we were to have a progress report regarding Camarillo High School and their Boston accreditation preparation.
That's on there. It's
It is?
on the September 9th.
We moved it down because of everything that's going on, Dr. Davis. Because the staff themselves are doing everything remotely.
I didn't put you down there.
It's really tough right now.
Okay.
But we also need to add a special board meeting for the 13th then.
Yes.
And special board meeting on June 13th.
Yes.
And then also one more thing I'd like to say about the Camarillo WASC, there's a good chance it's going to be postponed because they're moving them all back. And so that gives us more time to discuss it anyway.
And then according to what Trustee Herrera mentioned a little bit earlier this evening, sometime probably in June, we need to have some indication of the plan for school operations during the fall, at least the fall semester, as we know them. So we'll put that in there. Trustee Herrera, would that be okay? Okay.
Yes.
And then the final thing that I wanted to mention, and this is something that Madam President and I and the superintendent discussed, you'll see that the evaluation for the superintendent was dropped off. We had a bit of discussion, and here was the thinking. Dr. De Leon is certainly agreeable not to have at a 3-step evaluation. Dr. De Leon, you're leaving the district with our regrets, with all of our best wishes, with good wishes to you for the future. So the 3 of us kind of thought maybe we would just set aside the superintendent's evaluation. But I think Sharon and I will bring this back to you to see if you were of that thinking. Trustees, any thoughts?
Are you asking for us to decide today, or are you asking us to?
Well, for the calendar, I wanted to point out what happened to it because we did have that 3-step process.
I
And,
think that makes sense.
yeah, we dropped it off
Yeah,
with the rationale that I just shared with you.
Yeah, but she's she's leaving. It would be a sort of a moot point to do
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you. I do have a couple, just two things for items for future consideration. The voter registration update, I really feel like it should be somewhere. I don't want to miss that spring voter registration opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I feel like, once we let it drop, then we just kind of, I don't want that to happen.
Okay. Where did my pen go here?
And then, so just the other thing is on September 23rd, you have for the board policy, the civic engagement for the protesting one day of the year. I would really love for that to be completed before we go dark, so that when we reopen for the following school year, students have a clear understanding and teachers have a clear understanding if we do choose to move in that direction. I don't really want to do it in September. We'll already be into the school year by then. If at all possible, I would love to do that before we go dark.
Okay. I was hoping you'd leave something for the new superintendent to do.
No, that should be like your final, that's like your swan song. Come on.
Let me guess, Penny, you're great for everything after July 1, right? Everything after July 1.
You don't care what we put on there, huh?
Come on now.
Do not forget, I'll have at least this much stuff or more if 3 days later in another day. So, I'm not getting out of anything.
There you go. Those are just my 2 cents. Is there anyone else? Because Trustee Herrera and Mr. Edmonds, I cannot see you. Dr. Hall?
Nope, nothing else.
Anything for items for future consideration? Then we are done.
Move adjourned.
Adjourned.
Move to adjourn. Thank you, everybody. We did it.
Good meeting.
Thank you. Good night.
Everybody, nice job. We did it.
We did it.
Sylvia, how are you?
Adjourned at 10:07, Sylvia.
Good job. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Dr. McCoy, for orchestrating.
Yes, Dr. McCoy. Thank you. Good night.
Great presentation. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.